that stuff.
Welcome back, everybody, to Goodwill Podcasting with Connor, Dan, and Stone, your movie podcast that today is talking about the very last in-house animated film of Dreamworks. The Wild Robot is out in theaters right now, and a lot of us have seen it. A lot of people haven't seen it yet. A lot of people haven't seen Transformers 1 yet. People, go to the theaters, please. But we're excited because this is the very first episode that we're going to talk about Dreamworks. We have nominated our favorite films, and there's 5 that we're going to talk about all together, including The Wild Robot. So that means, of course, we have a guest here, and I'm so excited. It again is Fabian, aka Cinespider, who's kind of like our animation guy, and I'm super happy about that because I love that genre. Well, it's not a genre, Guillermo del Toro. It's an art form. It's not a genre because they can take on many different genres. But you were here for Inside Out 2, and now you're back for The Wild Robot, man, where I saw your review. I know you love it, but I'm happy to get into that eventually. But thanks for being here again with us, man.
No, of course, man. Thank you guys for having me, like always. I'm happy that I'm the second person to get another shot at this. I got to catch up to Jeremiah. But yeah, I'm really happy to do this.
So we got to keep track. I mean, like a tally or something, because I know we actually had the Real for Real. Kev, he's been on here twice. Yeah. And then Jeremiah, and I think that's it. I think so. You're third. You just missed second.
Nah, gotcha.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it though. The films that we will be discussing is very interesting because I feel like we got early stages of DreamWorks, and then we have like the middle hardcore, like the ones we grew up with, really, and then we have The Wild Robot. So we're going to be discussing. Fabian chose The Road to El Dorado. Next would be Shrek 2, the one I chose. Can't wait to get into Shrek 2. Kung Fu Panda was Dan's decision. I tried to convince him. I should have known, man. I should have known. I don't know if you listened, Fabian, but what did I say? I said maybe Puss in Boots' Last Wish or The Prince of Egypt, but he came out with Kung Fu Panda. I should have known that. But then Connor, and I didn't even think about this. We'll get into it, but Fabian gave me a good reason, or understood why you chose How to Train Your Dragon. So I'm really excited to talk about that as well.
Because
but
it's peak cinema.
No, I mean that is that's true. But if anybody follows us on social media, or listen to our last episode, then they'll know that we are doing the giveaway today for our Batman Day. We have all the names put together of all of our videos, and we're going to spin a wheel for our first time screen sharing. So if you're watching or if you're listening, we're about to screen share a wheel. So just imagine that. But Connor, you got it?
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay. So I'm giving a play-by-play for the people. All right, so it says click to spin. Or by the way, okay, so what do we got? Hold on. We got a Lego keychain Batman. We got 2 comic books right here. My boys, our co-hosts, Dan and Connor, sent me all this stuff. We've got Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. We got the 18-film collection, 80th anniversary Batman with all the animated films. We have Batman Mysteries of Gotham City, which is like a bunch of trinkets, and I think a short story from when the Batman actually got released. And then we got the popcorn bucket. And then I got a poster back there too. So we got a lot of stuff. Good haul. Thank you everybody for listening to us. We just did this because, our Batman episode did really well. But then, we're just happy that people are tuning in. So Connor, go ahead and click to spin. So Connor's clicking it right now, everybody.
And it's spinning.
And we're hoping it's not Fabian because everyone's going to think it's rigged. All right, we got.
Ricardo.
Congrats, Ricardo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's like a faithful listener. Nice.
Yeah, another friend of the
pod.
There
we go. So. Well, we'll DM you. I'll get your address and I'll send all this stuff out to you. So be on the lookout for that. But awesome. Thanks everybody for participating. It looks like there's a lot of names there. Connor was able to easily do it. He said he did this last night.
Like 133.
Damn, that's a lot.
And we'll do more of these, I think, in the future. Like this was
123.
Yeah, every milestone, maybe 1,000 subscribers, something like that. So if you guys want to get on the next one, tell your mom, dad, tell your friends and everyone. But anyway, so The Road to El Dorado, right, is the 3rd DreamWorks animated movie that came after Ant. Do you guys know Ant is the first DreamWorks movie?
Yeah,
I did not.
So I think the story behind that. So what happened is Katzenberger, which is a founder of DreamWorks. Jeffrey Katzenberger, Steven Spielberg, and then also, who's the third guy? I got it right here. Terrible podcasting right now. David Geffen. So what happened was Katzenberg was like, basically he wanted the top spot. He was an animator for Disney. He worked on like Hercules, a bunch of stuff. And he wanted the top spot in the company, but Roy Disney didn't like him a whole lot. And basically Roy Disney, which is Roy Disney Jr., so the nephew of Walt Disney and the son of Roy Disney Sr., was going to cause a lot of trouble if they didn't get rid of Katzenberg. So he left, started DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. And I believe The Prince of Egypt was the very first movie that they had on the docket to release. But they knew that A Bug's Life was coming out, and they didn't want A Bug's Life to hinder that in any way. So what they did was Katzenberg already knew about the plans for A Bug's Life, so that's how we got Ants, a very similar story. And they tried to rush that out before Prince of Egypt in order to hopefully push back A Bug's Life. That way the Prince of Egypt wouldn't have to, defend against it, and it would have like a clear slate, animated slate. That didn't work. All three of those movies came out in 1998. But anyways, it's very interesting that you have Prince of Egypt and Ants, which are so different. They're entirely different animated films. And I can only imagine being, when 2000 came and they're like, DreamWorks is coming out with a new movie. What's it going to be? And it was The Road to El Dorado. I don't know. I don't think anybody expected that. But yeah, this is Fabian's pick. And this is about two guys, if you haven't seen it, Miguel and Tulio, who are like scoundrels. I think this is in 1517 Spain, I believe. And they're able to steal this map that shows them, or supposedly will direct them to the city of gold, El Dorado. They stow away on this ship, randomly collect this horse that's just there with them on the journey. They find the lost city of gold, El Dorado. And there's two chiefs. There's like I would call him like a wizard kind of guy, and then another chief are competing against each other. And they think that Miguel and Tulio, all these people think they are gods. So they go along with that just to try to get the gold. And they also meet Shell there, who's randomly just kind of there, just as a love interest, and, goes with them on their journey. So Fabian, this was your pick, The Road to El Dorado. Why was that? This is a very, I feel like, I don't know, I think I mentioned it. I can't remember if it was on the episode or before we got on. This is the only movie that I wasn't really familiar as much with because I was 3 years old when this came out. So unlike Shrek 2, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, this is a movie that I didn't watch until like a year ago. So this is my second rewatch of this. And it's just very unique and very adult, which is refreshing and surprising. But yeah, why did you pick this, my man?
Yeah, so it was actually surprising to me because this was really the first time I watched it, because my actual favorite DreamWorks movie is Home, but one of my wife's favorite movies is this one, Road to El Dorado. So I was like, okay, there's something special about it that she's always spoken about. So I'm like, okay, let me check this out, and that's why I got like more into it. But as I watched the movie, kind of got a feeling where like I can relate to some of this because it's because it kind of goes into that thing where these people who are living like in this Spanish territory, where they kind of have to do so many different things or be like con men just to be able to get by, and come like with a family from Cuba. Like that's a lot of stories they told me like are just like that. Like they would have to do certain things, or they had family members who would have to do a lot of things like kind of like that in order to get by, like, and to help their family.
I wanted to ask you, because I watched this essay about this movie, a long essay on YouTube, and the first comment was like, a lot of white people or Americans think that this movie is not appropriate, or towards I guess Mexico is where they're at, or in that area. But then they said that people who are from Cuba or Hispanics or anything in that area find everything in this movie hilarious. And that was the top comment. Like they don't
Yeah.
really find it offensive. Is that the same with like you? Did you find anything in this kind of like edgy in a way that you didn't like?
No, I mean, I think that I mean that'll be a conversation for another day. Like I don't think
Yeah.
Trump can, kind of say what is ethical or not, or, stuff like that. But
You had a good time.
I didn't find anything wrong with it. I enjoyed it. I spoke with Dan about it. He told me like it was kind of kind of over the top a little bit, but it was a good movie though.
Yeah, Stone, I think on that on that note, when this came out, it got a good. This was actually it was also the first DreamWorks movie not to make a profit, but there was a lot of pushback when it came out from like indigenous people that just kind of were like, it's a difficult movie, right? Because I think it kind of evolves as it goes. I like at the start how it feels because you really do feel like they're just, excuse me, Tulio and Miguel are very slimy, right? Like they're just con men. That's what they are. I like that. And I like the kind of thought of them, trying to get one over on these people. But when it becomes just like they have the idea to save them and the silly natives can't get out of the situation, but the two, Miguel and Tulio are on the case, it's just like, I didn't like how the story ends up really. And I'm just like, I feel like it was set up to do something really interesting, but then just kind of goes in a very predictable, route. And I get it's a kid's movie. I get this was 2000. Like, it is what it is. But I found myself like I liked a lot of the setup, and then, the final execution, it didn't quite hit for me. But it's interesting. And also this story kind of mashes together like a lot of different people and like figures from history. The guy Cortez in this movie, Hernan Cortez, was a conquistador, but he pretty much wiped out the Aztecs. But there's this other guy, Gonzalo Pizarro. His brother pretty much did the same thing to the Incas, and then he was there as well. But he was the person who was basically looking for El Dorado. And with the concept of El Dorado, nobody had any idea where it was. Like they just thought it was somewhere in the New World. A lot of people thought it was in Colombia. A lot of people thought it was in Peru. People thought it was in Mexico. I think there was one tribe. There was like a legend where they did this thing where they basically like covered themselves in gold dust and went into a river. And then people heard about that and then assumed there was this like golden city and all this stuff. But when the Incas were conquered, they also found like a lot of gold, a lot of different riches and stuff. And I think people hearing about that back in Europe were like, that's also where this kind of came from. But no one really knew where it was or thought they knew where it was. But Pizarro is the person that Cortez in this movie is actually based on. But yeah, I mean, it's tough history to deal with. I don't know. It just left me feeling like really mixed in a way.
So Fabian, was this your first time watching it then? If your wife really enjoyed this movie and like recommended it to you?
Yeah, it was my first because every other time like she would recommend to me like I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna watch it, and then something happens. So it's like the first time I actually like I've seen it, like sometimes, and then like I'll go do stuff. It's the first time I actually like sat there, just took it all in, paid attention to the messages in the movie. So
yeah, what I find really interesting about this movie too is this is in that it's only lasted with 2 movies, but it was in that weird state where DreamWorks was trying to copy Disney in a way and kind of make their movies musicals. They only did that with 2 films. They really only did that with The Prince of Egypt and kind of this film. I was watching it with my wife, and she enjoys this movie, has watched it in the past. And I was like, is this a musical? I guess it's not. It's like their characters singing, but they're not actually singing in the story. But then there's one song where they do. It's like, I can't make up their mind here. But then like right after this, they went with Shrek and then totally abandoned, trying to do musicals altogether. But I brought up music because I think it's funny. In this essay I was listening to, the composers of this or the 3 guys, or some of the guys who put the songs together, are Elton John, Tim Rice, and Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because those exact 3 guys worked on The Lion King in 1994 when Katzenberg was fired or let go from Disney the exact same year. So got the guys from that year and was like, man, I'm going to put them in my movie now. But Elton John's songs go hard. It's pretty good. They're pretty good songs.
Yeah, I like the music in this, and you were talking about moving into Shrek. Like, music still was a big part of that franchise too. Like, but in a different way. Like, they just
soundtracks,
yeah. And I feel like they kind of created some iconic moments just with existing songs. I like the music in this. I thought it was fun. I also really liked. I think the best thing about this movie is Tulio and Miguel. Like, their dynamic. They seem like really, really close. I also know that Kevin Kline and Branagh recorded this together. Like, normally that's done separately. So like each actor will have like their own sessions doing voice acting, but they were actually together, and I think that it shows. Like, they feel like a really believable pair. And I like that you kind of see the con they pull at the beginning with the fake argument, and then they tie that back in at the end. They just have good chemistry. Chell is just like not a very good character, I think. Like,
I hate Chell.
It's just like
I hate her.
I liked it. I understood it. I understood it.
I mean, she's just there as a love interest.
And I feel like she's just so like it's kind of
Horny.
overdone. I don't know. It's just I don't know.
Well, that's
Yeah,
funny
'cause
because I thought. Go ahead, Connor.
I feel like I haven't seen this movie before. Like, maybe when I was real young. So this was like a first time watch for me too. And that was the only thing I was paying attention to. It's like how horny this movie is, and like how much adult content is in it. And like every review on Letterboxd is just talking about how seductive this movie is. It's wild to me.
Yeah.
And then I think there's so much missed potential with Shell too, because like you said, Dan, I think your thoughts kind of confirm my issue with the story is that it kind of turns into a white savior thing at the end. But I thought it could have been a lot more interesting of why does Chell want to get out of here? And it's the fact that she doesn't believe in the gods. Like, all of these people, except I guess the chief who kind of figures them out, like, believes in gods, believes they are God. And I think that would have been kind of an interesting dynamic if she didn't believe the same as her people. And then all of a sudden these two Spaniard dudes, come in and justifies, what she's been thinking all along. And that would just make her so much more interesting than I like adventure. She says that right when they meet him, I like adventure. And then the rest of the time she's just there to, be suggestive towards the characters. So
I also
so much missed potential.
Yeah, I also think this is a movie where it was funny. I was watching this movie and I was like, this is what people think The Last Samurai is. Like, this is actually that. But I think if they made a live action version of this that's like serious, it could be really, really cool. And like they could, especially if you're just aiming it towards adults, 25 years after this was made, I think you could take a lot of what made the original great and then like add in some more depth to the story and like some more layers to it and like deal with some of like the pricklier parts of the story. And again, I understand this is a kids movie. They're not going to like be dissecting genocide and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
But I think there's potential there for a really cool live action movie that could still be fun, but also a little bit more serious.
My thoughts, because I thought about a live action for this too. For the three main characters, you could just steal the cast of Challengers because they look alike.
That's really interesting, actually.
My wife said that Dan looks like Tulio, and I think that's very accurate.
Like, yeah.
Do you guys like Tulio or Miguel better?
Miguel.
Ooh,
That's a good question.
I guess
think Miguel
Tulio
too, but I love Kenneth Branagh. Like, and it's also very funny that this is Kenneth Branagh. It's a very random role for him to take. But I like the job he did. I think he's really good.
I'm saying Tulio.
I think Miguel.
Still,
Might go
see
with that.
you guys say Miguel's a good person. Maybe I don't know if you are thinking that because he's like helping these people out, because of whatever. Hold on, Sekul Khan,
Yeah, Seko Khan. Yeah.
yeah, is doing to them, right? Sacrificing them, which is wild in a animated film, but I love it. But also Tulio, I don't think knew that was going on. Maybe he didn't care, but he didn't know that was going on. But Miguel was willing to still lie to them. And to be honest, he never told the truth ever. They just leave. Only the chief figures it out that he was not a god. So Tulio, I mean, I would say he's more I mean, there's the Chell aspect, which I don't like Chell, but he's just like, I'm not going to keep this up. But he did try to steal their gold, so maybe it is Miguel.
I don't think either of them are
Miguel
I don't think either of them are good people at all. Like,
Yeah.
which is good, which is interesting for the story.
heroes.
Yeah.
Miguel just also, I think he goes through more character development, which I like. And then if you were to tell him he wasn't a god, then he wouldn't have been able to stop the human sacrifices and stuff. If you want to argue that side.
That's true.
I also wanted to call out quickly the guy who does the voice of Cortez. He doesn't have a lot to say, but I think it's a good performance. It's very like gravelly and like it's a cool voice. That's Jim Cummings, who is the voice of Tigger from like Christopher Robin and whatnot. So he's a really good voice actor. He's been in a lot of other stuff. He was in Aladdin back in the day, but yeah, I like his performance a lot.
He's been in a lot of stuff. Hercules, Tarzan, the Bee Movie, Wreck-It Ralph. Hey, he's been in tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What'd
and
you
I
guys
do
give
want to like before. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say as far as the whole Shell storyline, like I didn't enjoy it as much either, obviously because it's supposed to be a kids movie. It's like why is this in here? But I totally understood like you have all these adult characters. Back then they did stuff like that where they made these movies like like kind of like if you watch SpongeBob back then, like you'll hear jokes that shouldn't be for children, but they just throw that in there. I don't know why things were like that back then, but I understood why Shell was the way that she was, like how she was just like really like seductive to him, and I feel like she was just put in to kind of take Tulio's mind off of the task. To like as they're just basically trying to say like this is what a woman would do to any man, like they just take them off of the goal and just continue with that.
It's kind of shocking at first because obviously you don't expect to see this in an animated movie, but it does make sense. Kind of. I don't think she really liked Tulio at first. She was just trying to seduce him to get a spot on the ship to get out of there, but then she eventually fell for them. But Dan, I do agree. I think the best thing about this movie is the fact that maybe more than any movie I've ever seen before, it seems that Tulio and Miguel's dialogue is so natural. It doesn't seem like it's written. It just seems like two people talking to each other. And I feel like I've never really seen that in an animated movie. Like it's just a conversation. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and people will argue against this, but like I like that in a movie. Like I like that type of dialogue that feels like actual human beings talking. I think it makes it easier to get invested in a story. And that's like a lot of why I was so on board with this. Like for a lot of it was just I was invested in their friendship and seeing what would happen. I also like that it feels like it's almost like fate is kind of working in this movie. Like everything just like rolls their way. Like no pun intended with the dice, but like there's so many situations where just
good one.
Thanks. Things just kind of like work out for them, and they're like, "Oh, cool," but they're like bumbling idiots. Like they're both like, but it's still where it goes their way. So, also, I wanted to say this story is also loosely based on a Rudyard Kipling book, the guy who wrote like the Jungle Book. It's called The Man Who Would Be King, and it's about British, the British in India, but that's kind of like what they took for inspiration from this. So just another fun fact.
Would you guys?
I would say one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
One last thing. I'll go to my rating after this too, because this is one gripe I have. I feel like this is a staple in almost any animated film. Or especially, if you compare this to what was happening with Disney, is like the animal sidekicks. The horse is so stupid. Obviously it's a kid's movie. It doesn't make sense. I think is that Cortez's horse? or is it just a random horse?
I thought it was a random horse,
Yeah.
but
No, it was a random horse. Because it appeared
Okay,
at
and
the
then
beginning.
and then I was wondering, I was like, why is this fucking armadillo just following them along? And then you had that stupid scene, the one scene with like the ball game, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the purpose. I was like, this is the purpose of this thing. I love it though, because he's like, you have won, now you shall kill them all. I was like, geez, man. He's into sacrificing too much. But I do love the idea of just, these people believing, that these guys are a god, because I think that is kind of realistic, but then I hate how the story goes. I think you're correct, Dan, the way this, and just everything with Chell not progressing as a character and having as big an impact, I would say, as she could have had. But I have it at a 3 out of 5.
I have it at a 3.5.
Yeah, I got it at 3.5 as well.
It was close for me between those two. I think a 3 for me, but
I got him.
I do like it. It's just, again, I think this is a movie that like they should remake, and it could be cool.
Yeah, Justin Baldoni. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Fabian was saying that. Justin Baldoni.
So we're getting our first dream.
What?
I would say we're going to get our first DreamWorks remake next year with How to Train Your Dragon. So maybe Road to El Dorado, maybe a live action Road to El Dorado. There you go.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Who's Justin Baldoni? That name's familiar. Who are you talking about?
The guy from It Ends With Us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's done with that franchise.
Yeah. Yep.
We're not only getting a How to Train Your Dragon live action, but the movie, I think the next DreamWorks movie coming after that is Shrek 5. So let's talk about the best Shrek movie, better than Shrek 1, Shrek, the first Shrek. Shrek 2 was my... What? Oh my gosh. Okay, Shrek 2. Wow. Okay, I got to process that. Shrek 2...
Don't let me throw you off.
No. This happens the week after Shrek 1. The couple is happily married. They go and they meet mom and dad. This thing is incredible. I don't know what y'all are on. Every new character that's introduced, Fairy Godmother, Prince Charming, Puss in Boots, is just as memorable, if not more memorable, than the original cast. The story is so different than the original. It's not a retread, completely different. It may be better. The soundtrack goes fucking hard. The adult humor is on point. I mean, I don't understand. Like you compare, okay, Shrek 2 better than Shrek 1. I think Fairy Godmother is way better than Farquaad. Who is the side character that's injured? I guess it's the first film, but I mean, Puss in Boots like raises to the level of maybe Donkey in this. For you, baby, I could be. The thing is, though, that's kind of annoying, is I've watched this movie so much, and I don't know if you guys get like this with any film. I was quoting the entire thing, and I had to turn it off. This is the only movie that I did not rewatch for this pod episode because I know the entire thing, and I was kind of annoying myself just quoting. I can quote the entire movie. So, but why do you think that Shrek? What do you think about Shrek 2, and why do you think the first one's better? I'm curious.
For me, I think the first Shrek is interesting because it's kind of taking all of these things about like fairy tales as we know them and like the genre and deconstructing them in a way and like almost poking fun at them. I like the way that it ties into all the other fairy tales with like the supporting cast. But it's just kind of taking what you expect and flipping it on its head. And that's, just the concept of taking an ogre and turning him into the hero. It was fun and it was different. I think Shrek 2 is a movie that I think feels really dated. I think a lot of like it's consistent. Like there's like 5 to 10 references to pop culture from the time where I'm just like, haha, like, yeah, like it's just, and like movies that were coming out around then, I'm just like, I feel like they make the movie feel really dated. And you know, it's fine. It's fun. It's kind of like a moment in time. But I think with the story itself, I do really like Fairy Godmother. She's awesome. Um, Jennifer Saunders, I think.
Yeah.
But her singing voice is awesome. I like the musical aspects of it. I think the story itself is like a little bit half baked. Like there's so much stuff that happens where I'm just like, why did that happen? Like even when Shrek turns into a man and he comes back and he runs in the house and she's right behind him and he's like running up the stairs and she's yelling his name and he just like runs by. Like if they just meet right there, the movie
It's
ends.
a fucking castle, my guy. They got lost.
They didn't get lost. She's right behind him. She's yelling. And it's like, and then after that, he talks to the fairy godmother. First of all, I don't know why he doesn't just grab the fairy godmother and just like throw her out the window. Like just keep moving. But also after that conversation, he's just like, oh, okay. And then he just leaves. Like he could have just gone and talked to them immediately after and then just been like, this is what happened. Like
He has insecurities. Like what? Come on, my
About
guy.
what?
He thinks that's what's best for Fiona.
Why would you think
He's-
that about your wife after a 5-second conversation with an evil?
Because he sees her with Prince Charming, embracing
look
Prince
happy?
Charming. Yeah, he can't see his far away. He's not holding her back.
I just
Bro,
think
you
that's-
just gotta watch the
he
movie,
gives
my
up
guy.
So,
Nah.
He gives up so easily. Also, he just like drinks that potion without any knowledge of what it does, or just it's just like, oh, okay, here we go. Like why does
Beauty
he-
divine.
What?
Beauty divine. That's what it says on the bottle. He says beauty divine. Beauty divine. I
Yeah,
guess
but-
that means it'll work on Fiona too. I don't know. Sorry.
But he doesn't know what it's gonna do. He just like he's so just
He's so consumed with the fact that he wants to be better for his wife and makes his wife happy because her parents don't like the fact that he's an ogre. So he's trying to change himself and he doesn't
know-
care about the
it's a magic
consequences.
potion from like an evil witch. You don't know what it's gonna do.
Okay, well,
Thinking there's gonna be no downside to that is a little silly.
Yeah, I don't like that either. They completely changed him basically. Like he was a guy going from like, oh, I'm an ogre, like this is who I am, this is me, and he didn't like when people would judge him and stuff. But then it's like you go to this movie and like, you know, he wants to change himself, and it's like, why? You know, they just took so much magic away from the first and went to this one, and they're like, let's just continue the story and let's bring another dweeb in the castle that's supposed to take Fiona. And I'm like, bro, again, like Lord Farquaad was in the movie like as much as Beetlejuice is in Beetlejuice. Like there was no point in Lord Farquaad, I'm gonna be honest. And there's no point in the Prince Charming either.
Also,
I
I think that like the fact that why are they even going in the first place? Like she gets this invitation. Like, what did you think was going to happen? You're going to pull up to the kingdom and they're going to be like, "Oh, this is great." Like you're two ogres. In what world would that ever be okay?
Parents, are you?
Yeah, she
Do you listen to the dialogue?
No,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
who they are, but
Shrek, they are my parents. They'll love
Yeah.
me, and don't worry, they'll love you too. Like, what are we doing here, my
What's she
guy?
basing that off of? Like she's an idiot.
The fact that they're her fucking parents, and he's like, dude, they locked you away in a tower, and she's in denial of the fact that no, they'll still love me no matter what. Don't even,
Yeah.
come on.
But I feel like it makes the character
pull-
Fiona look dumb. Like
She has hope that her parents love her and that she's happy and that they'll be happy for her because she found someone and married them.
a little bit of
Don't get me
little bit of reality could have helped her out there, but
It's a fucking fairy tale. It's an animated movie. And it's funny because you were like, one thing you really like about the Shrek is that Shrek is like an ogre, a scary monster, and he's like the hero, which is nice. I like that the fairy godmother is supposed to be nice and charming, and she's like an evil bitch in this. Like, it's fantastic. And also, it's kind of crazy to me because isn't Shrek the Third, isn't Prince Charming the main villain? Which is kind of wild. I love that we don't get to see a lot of Prince Charming. I like it. And he's so dumb and it's so perfect. And I think the actor, hold on, what is the actor's name who does Prince Charming? Rupert Everett. His voice is so funny. It's so perfect. I don't want to quote tons of lines, but like when Fiona like goes, when Fiona like goes up to him thinking that he's Shrek, she goes Shrek, he goes, I can't. He goes, "I, Fiona, it is me." It's so good. He's such a stupid character. It's so fucking
I
funny.
also gotta
Oh my
say, I
gosh.
just think in terms of also making Fiona look like an idiot, why would she ever believe for 2 seconds that is Shrek? Literally a 30-second conversation, just like, no, that isn't Shrek.
No,
Like,
literally.
Fiona, why? Okay, let's go right back into the line. She goes, "What happened to your voice?" The potion changed a
No,
lot of
no, no,
things,
no, 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 no.
Fiona,
Not his
but
voice,
not the
like
way.
the way he talks, his word choice, his like every single thing about him, his entire personality is gone.
The potion changed a lot of things, Fiona, but not the way I feel about you.
There's
There, I
bullshit.
mean, there you go.
That's a line. That's
I mean,
bullshit.
we
And
don't
they
know what the
literally say
potion's
his
gonna
name.
do.
Like they literally say, the guy comes and they're like Prince Charming, and then he's like, no, he's like, no, I'm
He
Shrek,
goes,
something like that.
he goes,
I'm like,
yeah, he goes, okay. He goes, you think so? Ha ha ha, Dad. I'm so hoping you would approve.
Yeah, I'm like,
He goes,
how does she not catch on?
he's like, Mom, it's me, Shrek. It's so good.
I will say-
Connor, this is the first time you watched this movie, right?
Yeah, dude. And let me tell you, the reactions to people hearing I haven't seen this is far worse than when I told people I hadn't seen like The Godfather Part 2, like some of the more iconic movies of all time. People are obsessed with this movie, and it firmly sits at a 3 out of 5.
Disgusting. Why? What about it? What about it
Those
didn't work for
reactions
you,
were so
man?
funny.
I don't know, man. I have no appeal to Shrek. This isn't a movie that I'm gonna go and turn on.
You like
again
the
in
first
a year
movie?
from now. I enjoy it, but it's something I probably haven't seen in like 10 years, and I could probably still tell you everything that happens. And I just have no real need or want to go back and rewatch them. I kind of hold Shrek in the same regard as I hold Step Brothers.
I want to say something really quick. I like something I do like about the movie is, first of all, John Cleese is really, really good as the king. I like his voice acting, and it's who plays the queen? It's
Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews. Yeah, they're both awesome.
Perfect casting.
Their dynamic is really good. I like that, but I like that the king causes all of this trouble, right? Like he, gets into the situation. I think it's fairly believable as to how that goes. Like you see him kind of like torn, and then I also like that, when they're having that conversation and he makes the decision to like swap out the tea. Like you see him like he's not completely terrible, and he sees like the effect it's having on her. And I like that he gets turned into a frog at the end, because it's like there's still like a consequence for him being a dickhead. Like it's not just like, oh, he changes his mind and then it's fine. It's like, no, he steps in front of the spell and he is punished for what he did. And I think it's like a story that makes it a little more satisfying. I like that.
Just thinking about it, like, because you have a issue with this, the fact that they show up and like the family is shocked and doesn't necessarily accept them. I wonder if they would have if the whole deal with the king and like the fairy godmother thing happened in the first place. Like, is that why he's so aggressive towards Shrek? Is that she's supposed to be with Charming? I've never thought about that in all the times I've watched this movie.
Yeah, probably. I would assume. And I do
but
like
the adult.
Go ahead, Storm.
Good. I was just saying the adult humor. I don't know if you like the adult humor in this. The ones that aren't 2004 jokes, like look out, Shrek, he's got a piece. Really funny. When they find drugs on Puss in Boots, catnip. That's not mine. The pepper spray is like a meme now. It's good ass shit, man.
Yeah, there was one joke.
I would say the one joke that went over my head when I was a kid. Probably look out, Shrek, he's got a piece. But the one that was like, it's okay, buddy. We're from the Union. I didn't know what that meant as a kid. They go, oh, you're from the Union. Yeah. Are you feeling degraded or depressed? He's like, a little. We don't have dental. I did not understand that as a kid. I was like, this is really funny. No clue what that meant.
I did like at the end when the king gets hit by the spell and Pinocchio goes, he croaked. And he's just like shit like that. But yeah. I like this movie. I do like Puss in Boots is awesome. Antonio Banderas, like, it's such a good voice acting performance. It's so funny. He's a cool character. He's like one of the good.
The way he twirls. I was like, nah, that type of animation was insane. He just goes like in a straight line. I'm like,
There's some animation here that looks really bad, I think. Like the dog. I don't know what's going on. That dog looks like it's from like a PC game in 1995. Like
Oh
little
my
white
God,
dog.
yes,
Like it
that's
looks
exactly what I
horrible.
said. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said. It's like they tried to render the game, but it like got stuck in like while they were editing it or something, and they just like, oh, let's just put it out like this.
Yeah.
See, if you just talk about a random part of this movie, it just makes me so happy because I think about the line where he goes, "Oh man, you got a puppy? All I got in my room was shampoo." It's so funny. It's so good. Connor, I'm curious because my favorite moment. What did you think about the climactic ending where the fairy godmother is singing? I'm curious. What internal feelings were you processing at that moment?
It's
This
like,
is
I'm just
fun.
here to be here.
It's a cool
Absolutely
song.
nothing.
Yeah,
Wow.
I told you I
I
feel like nothing.
I felt
for
the same way
Shrek.
though.
I don't know. The part that was most entertaining for me throughout this entire film was seeing all the like spin-off brand names they put for all the stores.
Oh, Burger King. Like the
What are we
fake Burger
doing
King
here,
they have.
guys? What are we doing here, guys? It is funny though when what's his name? Mungo, I think is what they call the giant
Mongo,
gingerbread
yeah.
man. Mungo is the fact that like all those people are running from him in the Starbucks and they run out of one Starbucks into an next Starbucks, like across the across the street or across the way. That's good. It's nice to know that you don't have, a soul in you, Connor. When Fairy Godmother is belting it out and fucking Shrek is trying to take down a castle with a giant ass gingerbread man. Are you kidding me? Good lord.
Yeah,
Anyways, and
I
there's
like
that
the giant
tension.
gingerbread too.
There's that tension. You don't know if Fiona is going to kiss Prince Charming, and it's just so good. It's so much buildup. I just want to explode. But anyways, go ahead, Dan.
Pause. I also will say that I think that this movie's a little bit like melodramatic at times. Like it's a little bit too dramatic. I'm just like, all right. Like I'm not even that invested in this romance. I think they both make like terrible decisions and are kind of annoying. I also will say I think the movie doesn't really do like this movie isn't long enough. This movie's 90 minutes. Like I think it should be like 10 minutes longer and do a little bit more like Shrek and Fiona looking like people and like them dealing with that. Like they should have more conversation about it, I think, and like think about it more and like process like what that actually means. It's kind of like a quick conversation. I just wish the movie went a little more into that because I think, we're going to talk about this with Kung Fu Panda and The Wild Robot to an extent. So much of what DreamWorks is about is like self-acceptance and, being yourself and like being comfortable with who you are and like that's what this movie really is at its core. But I feel like there's so many like jokes and all that stuff that like this movie doesn't quite hit its themes as hard as it should, I think. Which sucks because it's interesting what it's doing as a follow-up to the first movie, but I don't think it goes into that deeply enough. And again, it's a kids movie, I understand that, but you still can look at serious themes in kids movies, and I don't really think that's up for debate. So I just wish it did a little more and was a little longer, honestly. But I like this. I have it at a 3.5 out of 5. I just like the first movie a little bit better. I have the first movie at a 4. So
see, I have the first movie at a 3.5 probably,
which is good. That's a good score.
I feel like this movie could have been the end of Shrek 1. Like this literally just feels like a stretched out ending of Shrek 1. Like Shrek 1 had all the magic. It had the I think the subtlety of like the callbacks to like the Muffin Man, the mirror on the wall, all these different things, like all these fantastical things. And they just basically stretched it out to the second one, and you hit it perfectly. Like they were obviously giving a message with how Shrek looks, how Fiona tries to hide herself and all this, and then you go into the second movie and they kind of like don't really deep dive much into how they're feeling and all these things anymore. And it just took away a lot of that. The humor doesn't hit like the first one. Like the first one, Donkey's just walking around, he's like on the road again, and it like it's just a lot of things hit. One of my favorite parts about the first one was the part where Fiona hears them talking That talk they have
Yeah.
on the like during the night, and then she wakes up and cooks some eggs and stuff, and they look at each other like that, the meme face. That part in general, yeah, that part in general was my favorite part because like that's where you can feel that whole shift in just the entire movie.
Yeah, and the first movie is so much really about Shrek and Donkey too. It's like kind of like a road trip movie, and like their dynamic is really good. I still love Donkey in this, but he's kind of like pushed to the side a bit with everything else that's going on. I don't know. I think their dynamic is like the best thing about Shrek.
The dragon,
More than the
like
romance.
the dragon. They're just. I turned the movie off, so I looked up what happened to Drag. Like what happened to her? Where is she? Next thing you know, it says I read that there was a post-credit scene or something that they had drunkies.
Hell yeah.
It's like
Yep.
why do that? Why? This isn't Marvel. Why do that to me? They could have done something deep with that.
There's also a famous bonus feature of this where they have this fun little game where like all the Far, Far Away Idol, where all the characters of this movie sing and Simon Cowell judges them. I watched that shit on repeat. And if you purposely chose someone who's a shitty singer, Simon Cowell would jump up and say that he was the winner and he would start singing. So I will never forget. I mean, I love this movie. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's not about Donkey and Shrek anymore, but it's about Fiona and Shrek, which, no offense to Donkey, I feel like they are more the main characters of this story, or from here on out. Especially, I can only think of Shrek Forever After. I know they're definitely the main characters of that story. Shrek the Third is a weird ass movie, but I mean, it's just interesting the fact that even Shrek wants to be human. I would say he doesn't necessarily want to be an ogre sometimes, but it's just about the fact that I know like you said, Jan, it's all about self-acceptance and being who you are. And Fiona loves her parents so much, but she's willing to, be away from them, apart from them, to love her husband because that's who she's destined to be with, and she doesn't care how he looks.
She can't tell isn't her husband, that husband.
The potion does a lot of things, Fiona, but not the way I feel about you. Like, how many more times do I need to quote the potions? How many potions have you taken in your life, Dan? Huh? If you start talking like Connor, how am I going to know? I don't know what the potion fucking does. Good Lord. Anyway.
Did you guys catch the alien reference in this movie?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yes. It's when Puss in Boots bursts through
Shrek's shirt.
Shrek's there's a lot. But that's an old reference from 2004, Dan, that doesn't hit it well anymore,
that's a reference from like
the
1979, but
I know, it still works. I mean, the big thing is the O.J. Simpson police chase. We got a white Bronco.
Oh my God, the Bronco, yeah. I was like, no, why?
Oh, wait, I forgot. Donkey goes, police brutality. It's so good.
Yeah, the Cops references, Lord of the Rings reference. There's a lot of movie references, but
yeah.
But it's all good. I know. I finished your sentence there, Dan. There you go. It's all good, and it's better than Kung Fu Panda. We can get into that, Dan. I know.
It's not.
And I got it at 2.5.
I can't be
Shit.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
I
can't wait.
No.
If you've
Shrek
made it,
2 was a 2.5, not Kung Fu Panda.
Don't worry. I know what you're talking about. I can't wait.
Okay.
Just call it. Hey, just call it what it is. Shrek 2.5. There you go. That easy title right there. I cannot wait. We get like 2 comments on a video. I want 5 comments on this video on YouTube bashing all 3 of these men, please, because you guys just. I mean, I'm gonna say it. You guys don't like having fun.
Bashing Stone.
Wait, what do you guys?
Hell no. What's up?
You feeling lonely?
I feel warmth, and I feel happiness, and I feel like this is a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
5? What'd you give Shrek 1? A 5 too?
Wait, shit. Was my mic on? Wait, did you? Yeah. Could you not hear me, Dan? I don't know. He repeated it. Yeah, 5 out of 5. Sorry, I'm on fire, man. Anyways, let's speak about Kung Fu Panda if you want.
Wait, what do you have Shrek 1 at before we move on?
You gotta have it at 5.
I think 4.5. So not that far off. Shrek 2. Okay.
Move on.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. Oh, they're both currently rated on Letterboxd. I know that isn't the gold standard, but they're currently both ranked at a 4.1. So if you like Shrek better, if you like Shrek 2 better, it's a toss-up. And there's 50% of people out there are going to comment on this video and be like, y'all are imbeciles. And then the other 50% are going to be like, yes, no, we know Shrek 2 is good. I have 2.5. Welcome to your last guest appearance, Fabian. I'm just kidding.
Nah,
Don't worry, Fabian. There's still
I'll
two
be
of us
back.
that
I'll
can
be
vote
back
you
to
on.
Shrek 5. I'm gonna be like the meme when he's like,
Yeah, Connor and Dan are like, I said that, Connor and Dan, welcome to the new co-host of Goodwill Podcasting. They kicked me out.
I will say on IMDb, Shrek's at a 7.9 and Shrek 2's at a 7.3. Throwing that out there.
You can't trust You can't trust those things.
Rotten Tomatoes.
What? Okay, let's see here. What is Kung Fu Panda at? Oh, ooh, here we go. Good segue. Oh, please be under Shrek 2. Please. That's all I ask in life.
Me? Oh, I got it at a
No.
at a 4.5.
Oh gosh.
It was almost a 5, but there was something that brought it down. But it was
I'll say
4.5.
we're gonna
Also,
IMDb.
wait, hold on. Really quickly. So we just did IMDb, right? Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of ratings on these. 88% critics, 90% for audience for Shrek 1. 89% for critics for Shrek 2. With over 250,000 ratings, Shrek 2 is at a 69%. Nice.
See, here's the
but
thing.
That's crazy low.
You don't get it. That's part of the humor. So there's this thing they did way back in the day, a huge blog post where, Shrek 2 is all about dark humor. So there's this huge cult out there of Shrek 2 enthusiasts who always keep it at a 69% as a joke. Obviously, 69. That is fake news, but I thought that was pretty good on the spot. That was pretty good.
It's a lot of coke.
You're just fighting a losing battle.
There's no losing battle.
7.6 on IMDb, which is ahead of Shrek 2. So there's your
whatever. I usually give the intros of the movie. Dan, what is Shrek or what is Kung Fu Panda about? You ought to tell us about the Dragon Warrior.
So I think Kung Fu Panda actually takes a lot of what Shrek 2 is trying to do thematically and then just does it better. But Kung Fu Panda came out in 2008. We've now gotten 3 sequels. I've enjoyed all of them. I think I have the most recent one is the weakest, but I still liked it. I think it was still fun. These movies have always had really good villains. They've gotten great voice acting performances. Jack Black is obviously at the center here as Poe. And I think this is just I think Poe is such a great everyman character. He's just incredibly relatable. And just so much fun. It's kind of a fish out of water story at the beginning with him, kind of by fate being pushed into the role of the Dragon Warrior, and him kind of coming to learn the rest of the Furious Five. And we have Angelina Jolie, Lucy Liu, Seth Rogen, David Cross, and Jackie Chan. So awesome voice acting. I love the Furious Five. I think they each kind of have. You feel like you know them as characters, there's enough there to work with. You feel like their fighting styles. They're all very unique. I love the animation of this movie. I think it looks incredible. I think the action looks really, really good. There's a lot of cool stuff they do with quick zooms and they really amplify all the action in a lot of different spots in ways that I like. And I just think this is a great movie for kids, about, it's kind of also a fake it till you make it movie, and about just kind of figuring out where you're supposed to be and how to, navigate the world. And you might not always feel like you're fully qualified for what you have to do. But you got to just figure it out. And figuring out who you are and what you're supposed to be. So I think it's a great movie. I think Oogway is one of the coolest characters ever made. Yeah, I love this. I have since the first time I watched it. And it's really good. I also was a heavier kid growing up. So I think I just kind of really appreciated this movie always in terms of just, him being a bigger hero and stuff like that. And that kind of being a centerpiece of the story. So
wait till I tell you about this movie, Big Hero 6.
Fabian, how do you feel about Kung Fu Panda?
I absolutely love this movie. I think it has a lot to tell with obviously with weight and people who misrepresent those kind of people, and you think, oh, just because you're this size, this shape, you shouldn't be able to do this. um Obviously that works throughout the movie. I think the music is fantastic in here. I think that's something that's
Dude,
very underrated, the music
Hans
score.
Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer.
Oh, again? Oh, no wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very underrated. The humor hits every time. I think one of my favorite parts was he's getting a speech. I don't remember from who exactly. He's getting a speech from someone, and then he goes, ugh, like he makes a face, and they're like, oh, I just struck a nerve.
Yeah. He's getting
That-
acupuncture.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the humor to me is one of the best things about it too. The action, the way the story takes its time to get to the point, and then when it does get to the point, like they don't rush it. They don't really rush it. The only thing I don't really like was the way they handled Tai Lung. I feel like the movie could have been at least 10, 15 minutes more, like longer. You could have given a lot more backstory of Tai Lung, like not just be like, oh, well, you did this to me and you just, you just left me in the back burner. Like, okay, we I get it, but you threw it at me too quickly. And then it just kind of ends too quickly with Tai Lung as well. So if they would have just
It's
stretched
kind
that
of
out,
like an Anakin Skywalker character.
I don't want Star Wars, so I can't.
Connor, you
I
want
haven't seen
to
it.
agree there?
You're not too far off with that one. But I'm actually on the opposite page of Fabian. I think they did all of Tai Lung's stuff pretty well. I think my one gripe with this movie is I think the training sequence with Poe to get him ready to fight Tai Lung is too quick.
Mhm.
I would
Yeah, that
agree. I would
little bit,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think to push back there, like I feel like there is an element of like fate and destiny to this movie. Like I feel like he does have like he has natural ability. Like there is something special about him as like with his like combat skills and like the way he fights. Like it's all very specific to him and it's very unique. Kind of like the rest of them, but I think there is some like innate. He's kind of like a Neo, like like something like that. Like he is special. He's not just like any schlub off the street that doesn't know what he's doing. Like there's something in him that like I think the training just kind of like pulls out naturally. So I do get what you guys are saying. Movie is only 90 minutes, but I think Tai Lung is awesome. Like Ian McShane,
Badass.
his
Oh,
voice is incredible. I think like his like rage feels really believable and like understandable. And he just has this huge like ego and chip on his shoulder and like feels like he has to prove himself. Like, he's kind of like that little kid that just like never really grew up. But I really like how it's paced out with like the Furious Five, the way they kind of change their mind towards Poe and like they spend time with him and they're like, oh no, he's actually like cool, and they like really start to like him and like look up to him. I think that sets up really well for him being like a leader and like being part of the team, and like it makes it more believable. Because they might all like judge him at first, but then they're like, this guy's actually pretty cool and like he's like making food for them. And they kind of get to know him. So I like that.
I love that part, the noodles.
Yeah, making fun of Shifu, yeah.
Yeah, and then what was it, the message that the dad leaves him? I think that was my favorite part about the whole movie, where he's just like, there's no secret, there's no secret ingredient. He's like, huh? Yeah, it's just I made you believe it, and it's kind of like a little kid. Like you make them believe they're eating like steak or something, and they're like, oh, I'm allergic to some type of like pork or something. And you tell them that's not pork, but they still eat it, and like, oh,
yeah,
good.
Yeah, and I think James Hong does his dad. I love the dynamic with him and his dad, like his like goose dad, the entire like run of these movies. I just think and that's similar to the Wild Robots, kind of like an adoptive parent thing. I think there's like a really nice message there, because like not every kid has like a picture perfect situation with their parents, or like a lot of kids are adopted, or whatever the situation might be. They're raised by someone that isn't their biological parent, but like those kids are still just as important as everybody else, and like those relationships like can still make or break your life. And like I like seeing that represented in movies. I think it's just another level of representation that's important for kids. So I like their dynamic a lot.
I feel like Dustin Hoffman's voice acting is underrated. I think like I really enjoy him in this, and when I say voice acting, I mean just in this movie because I just looked it up. The guy has done like nothing else for voice acting.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I always thought I never put together. I think it's because he had the mustache. I never put together that he's a red panda. I thought he was like a mouse, like a really large mouse. I didn't. I didn't put that together because I was like, red pandas don't have. Because I thought it was like whiskers or something like that, which I guess red pandas do have that. I'm not really familiar with red pandas. I haven't seen one, but Turning Red. I have watched Turning Red, but that's Pixar. We're talking about DreamWorks here.
That's so funny that he's a red panda and he just calls Poe Panda the whole time in a very aggressive manner.
Oh, okay. Thinking deep there. Okay. Maybe he's insecure with his own self, his own pandaness. I like that, Connor. I like where you're grabbing at right there.
I wasn't taking
five
that
out of five
deep,
out of
but
five
I
movie.
appreciate it.
I will say, Fabian, when you were talking about your favorite moments, like favorite jokes, I had it like talk like this one moment. It probably is my favorite. It's when he tips over that vase of like thousands of souls. It's not when he originally does it. There's like it happens 3 times. It's the last time. Like Shifu like approaches him and he just backs up and he just bumps him and like just like making like a moaning noise. And he's trying to like shake him off his leg. It's like, get off me. That was really good. I like that. Also, Jack Black, it might be the most perfect casting in any animated film. Honestly.
Yeah, he was literally
I
destined
I cannot imagine a single other person doing this.
Yeah. I agree.
He's a heavy set guy himself who like has tons of success. He's always kind of been a little bit heavy set, and I think that like perfectly fits the character. Like it doesn't matter what size you are, you can do like incredible things, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I also just think like Jackie Chan being a part of this movie is incredible. And I think like what makes this good is they really cared about Kung Fu. Like they actually took like the people that worked on the movie all took like classes and like did a lot of research about it. The styles that the Furious Five are fighting in and Poe himself, like all of that's modeled after real Kung Fu styles. Poe is like bear style. So like just the detail and like the care about the actual fighting style is really cool, and like that makes it feel better because all these characters feel unique. I think a lot of times in stories like this, the Furious Five might feel like just kind of like background noise or just characters, and they might all fight the same, and like that's just boring. Like it makes it feel more genuine and I don't know the word I want to use, but just authentic when you put that extra level into it. And I feel like that's been maintained through all the movies. So yeah, I really love these movies.
Besides Kung Fu Panda 4, right? No Furious 5 in that until the very end.
Yeah, but I
swear
didn't mind that
they got that backlash and they added it.
Yeah, just I did like getting to see Poe stand on his own because I think that also is an interesting story to tell as well. So, but they are great and people love them.
And then you got Seth Rogen playing the Mantis. That's one thing I did not expect when you hear the little laugh that he does. I was like, wait, who is that? And then I looked up the cast and I'm like, gotcha.
Yeah, that's
I
the
didn't
one
even
voice
realize
doesn't really
Jackie
like
Chan.
melt into the character. It kind of stands out a little bit. But Mantis is a small role, so
That's like Jonah Hill and How to Train Your Dragon for me.
Yes,
I was
that was
I was
surprising.
like, I know this voice, I just can't point it.
I will say something that gets old for me is there is a lot like you kind of can't have this movie without it, but it's just 95% of the jokes are just about him being overweight. Like I said, like my favorite joke is the fact of him just like bumping. Like I like that he's a goofball. Like I like his like clumsiness rather than his size. Like it's always like, what are you gonna do, fat guy? Sit on me? And then he like sits on him. Like I remember seeing that in the trailer too. I remember that was in the trailer, but it's just yes, I get it. I get it. He's a big dude, a big panda. Like give me some more comedy than just that. There's a lot of it too. So that's like my one gripe with this movie. It's
I feel
pretty
like that's
good,
kind of
man.
the
I
point
gotta
of the
admit.
movie, though. Like everyone kind of underestimates him, and I feel like a lot of that isn't even really like
Like he has to
a
use his
joke.
I mean,
It's kind of
yeah,
like, and this
it's
is
a
a
plot
really
plot
odd.
point.
This is a really odd comparison to make, but like, I just watched A Different Man, and like, it's kind of the same thing where it's like there are jokes in that movie that like people in my audience like laughed at, and I was like,
Yeah, you shouldn't.
"What are you laughing
laugh.
at?" Like it's a
Yeah.
joke that someone in the movie is making at the expense of the person that the movie. Like it was very odd. It's an odd experience, but I think there are some like similarities with those movies in terms of just like how people are viewed and like making the most out of who you are and like all that stuff. But I think it's a similar thing where like I don't necessarily think all that stuff in Kung Fu Panda is like supposed to be funny. Maybe to kids it would be, but like I think you can see him being like underestimated and mistreated, and like watching it as an adult at least, it's like a little different. But and I also think like they also play it up to where his main trait is like what you said. It's like he's like kind of clumsy and bumbling and like uncoordinated, but that's like also part of his kind of like style and mystique. So I think it works with the character. But I get what you're saying.
One thing I thought was interesting was, and I was going to compare this to How to Train Your Dragon because I didn't like this aspect of it, is that everyone's kind of against Hiccup. Like everyone in that village is just like, this dude's a stupid person, right? He's not a Viking, whatever. And when I started watching Kung Fu Panda, it really didn't seem like the town was against him. Like he was like, at the beginning he's in that noodle shop and he's trying to like suck in his gut and do all this stuff. But it seems like people kind of they don't hate him. Like they're not bullying him. He's like in the way sometimes, but you don't really get that feeling like you do when it comes to How to Train Your Dragon. But then there's, I think Shifu is like, "Why didn't you quit?" And he's like, "Everything that you said to me or have said behind my back, it's not like I haven't heard that already before." We we really, and then I thought about it. I was like, that what stood out to me at the beginning is the fact that no one is actually doing anything to him. Everyone seems like pretty nice to him in a way. And then he says that and then I was like, okay, well I didn't see that. So I'm surprised that he did say that, to be honest. Like I don't
That's
see
also
anybody
like his place of work.
Besides the Furious 5 and Shifu, the townspeople aren't mean to him, as far as I can tell, as far as I saw.
That's also like his place of work though, and like a place where he's comfortable, and like that's kind of him just blending in and like doing like the role that he's expected of him by like his dad and society. So like I feel like there he's just kind of like background noise and doing what he's like supposed to do. But I feel like you can understand going through his everyday life, like he's probably like taking shit at some point or like growing up or whatever. But when he's just kind of flying under the radar and not standing out, he's just gonna be accepted as what he is. But it's like his family's shop, so like, is he gonna be taking abuse there? Like, probably not.
I was also gonna say it didn't seem like they were being genuinely nice to him at the shop. Like it more seemed like they were just kind of being nice because they had to, because it was his place of work. But like if they saw him in the streets, they wouldn't be as nice as they were there.
Yeah,
That's fair. I would say I do like it just fits like with the jokes of him being overweight, the fact that food is his kung fu basically. That's what he like Shifu can use to train him. That's pretty good. This movie's pretty good. Like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's no Shrek 2, but it's pretty close.
It's actually better, which is crazy.
Also, just really quick, I love Uguay so much. Like I think he's such a cool character. And I just think, writing wise, like everything he has to say, I feel like they just put a lot of effort and thought into. Like, I like, Shifu's kind of like neurotic and like, anxious, and Uguay is just like this like stoic, just chill dude that like he's just such a cool character to me. And the scene where he basically hands things over to Shifu and then like disappears. Like I love that scene. I love the score there. And a lot of this movie too is really about Shifu like figuring out how to take on this role and be a leader too, and like feeling really overwhelmed and also in a situation that like he probably isn't really ready for or feels like confident in his ability to tackle, but he still has to step up and do it. So he's kind of mirroring Poe. He just might have a better way
Coping
of
mechanism.
hiding that. Yeah. So I like Oogway a lot.
But does the staff give him power, or does he have it himself?
No, it's just a symbol, I think.
It's just you're old, so you get a staff kind of a thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when they showed the scene, when he did that to Tai Lung, like when he did that move to Tai
Wushu
Lung.
finger hold?
No. It was like
No,
when
he's
he pushed the
when he
soul
does
out
it,
of him
yeah.
or something.
The Kill Bill
that,
5-finger
yeah.
chest, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, he's able to do that, but he can't blow candles. I'm like, what? Like he's capable of doing all that, but like
his jokes land pretty good too. Oogway's jokes are pretty good. Like I love when he's like Tai Lung. He's like, "There's no good news or bad news," and he's like, "Tai Lung has escaped." He's like, "That's bad news." That was pretty good.
He's very chill.
Every time
he's such a memorable character too. Sorry, he just like leaves too. Like he's only like in half of the movie, and you're like, "Shit, damn. Well, see you later, man."
Every time Tai Lung did the like 5-finger punch to their chest, I just thought of Kill Bill though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tai Lung was badass. I like the character.
All right, what's the rating, my guys?
Dan.
5 stars.
4.5.
Yeah, I got 4.5 as well.
See, I'm not evil. I got it at 4.5. I did have it at a 4, and I watched it.
Are you saying you think we're evil because we disagree with you on Shrek 2?
That's what the people are saying. I'm alive right now on my iPad.
You're
That's
the
what
only
people
people on this podcast right now.
Shh.
Oh,
I have it
wait,
at
no.
4.5 too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of the voice acting.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of voice acting, like back to Shrek. How do you guys feel about Cameron Diaz as Fiona? Because I didn't. It might be a hot take, but I didn't really I didn't think the voice fit the character.
For as a human or as an ogre or both?
Yeah, just like in general. Yeah, like in general, the character.
I don't think it's
didn't
my
feel like it
favorite,
fit
but
as
it's not
well.
my least favorite voice acting. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that people like really praise or.
What do you guys think?
I don't know. Stone
I'm
would know
kind
more.
of in the middle on it. Like I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but I don't think it's terrible at all.
Not gonna lie, my internet was messing up. Who are we talking about?
Cameron Diaz in Shrek.
Oh, I think she just sounds like a basic princess, which I think fits the character. I don't think she's supposed to sound like an ogre. She's just supposed to sound like an average girl. She doesn't. Cameron Diaz isn't average. Her voice is just. I mean, she's pretty good. I mean, I think she does a fine job.
Fair.
I mean, there's a lot of spunk in Fiona, especially in that first film. So, which doesn't mean it's better. A lot of spunk in Fiona in that first.
She's just the better
first film.
character in the first movie, man. Like,
Yeah.
So I think Cameron Diaz does a really good job at that. So, oh, by the way,
I would have been more curious to see Chris Farley. How he would have done versus
Fiona? That's Fiona?
I'm blank. No, it's Shrek. Thank you, Dan. You guys all knew that, right? Chris Farley was originally supposed to be the voice of Shrek.
Yeah,
I'm sure it would have been
No, I
great.
didn't know.
I mean, Mike Myers was excellent, though.
Yeah.
I remember I have like a singer that I used to listen to named Lewis Capaldi, and he's Scottish. And I remember this video of him watching movies of people doing Scottish accents and them asking him how were they, and they played Shrek. And he's a really funny musician, but he's like, I didn't even know that was Scottish. I just thought that's how ogre sounded. Like I didn't even know, my guy. I
Hey,
will
Stone,
say,
I've met Lewis
everyone
Capaldi.
tune in. Have you really?
Yeah. And his whole crew.
Oh shit. Oh, that's sweet. Poor guy has got I think Tourette's really bad, so he's like stopped singing for the indefinite future, which is sad. But I will say, everyone stay tuned for around Halloween time if you're a Shrek fan, because your boy's going as Shrek for Halloween. So I might pop on that costume.
You doing a
it's kind of
mask
like
or face
tights.
paint?
I'll probably do face paint. I will say that The tights are a little bit tight. I will say I got a month to lose the weight, but
Maybe you should gain
It's
weight
good,
so
though.
you're even tighter. Go full method.
no, no.
Jared
Yeah,
Leto
I can
style.
tell everyone. Yeah, I can tell everyone that's why I'm overweight. So I'm going method.
I'm method acting for Halloween.
I'm
He's
excited,
going
though.
as
We got
Shrek, Shrek the musical, with the face paint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can say
I
that.
don't know if I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do face paint. I won't do no mask or no. I got ears.
Nah,
so.
do mask. You should do mask. I think it'll
No,
be.
this is the like everyone loves this. You don't realize how many fans I got. I don't want to cover that bad boy up.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about, Fabian texted me when it was kind of cool. He just texted me outright and said, "Yo, I get why Connor, really is connected to How to Train Your Dragon." Obviously, everyone's like watched this movie. A lot of people have watched this movie. Tell me what you said, Fabian, or say what you said.
Yeah, so I told him I was like, the movie's all about an animal that's like they're capturing or they're trying to like kill, murder, all these different things, and then this boy is like he's like the only one out of this whole crew, this whole Viking crew that wants to basically like grow a bond with it, like connect with it. And I'm like, that's literally you and sharks, because obviously clearly like sharks are like an animal that, well, yeah, like a creature that people would want to avoid. I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, I see a shark and I'm like, oh, let me go pet it. No, like
I would.
you
Ride
yeah,
it, ride it.
exactly. Like you're the
I have.
person that would be like, let me pet it.
I appreciate that comparison. I'm about to go change my picture on TikTok to Hiccup.
That'd be pretty good. That's not bad.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that greatly. I really
This
thought when
is-
you were going to compare me, I thought you were going to be like, yeah, he's just like one of the whitest guys I know.
I mean, that's not bad for Hiccup, man. I mean, he really is.
No,
Dave
yeah.
Baruchel is like the perfect voice for him.
100%. And also, after rewatching it this time, I firmly think this is the second best animated movie of all time. This is
Wasn't it already your second best?
No, Inside Out was.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Shrek 2.
No, that's like not even breaking the top 25.
I'm never letting that go, man.
Is there
I'm
even
telling you guys are
25
gonna get so much
DreamWorks
hate.
No, I'm saying all animated, not just
animated.
DreamWorks.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I think there's over
every
30 DreamWorks movies now.
every Studio Ghibli over Shrek 2, maybe all the How to Train Your Dragons over Shrek 2.
Damn, good lord.
Anyway, no, I genuinely, but this is probably what I think is the second best animated movie of all time. It's one of my personal favorites, maybe ever. I think the test flight scene is one of the best scenes we have seen in cinema in, this century. I think the score is an all-time score that's up there with anything John Williams and Hans Zimmer has done. That's
Hans
my
did this
thoughts on
too?
it. What'd you say, Fabian?
He did this too.
No,
Hans Zimmer?
I
Oh, okay,
honestly,
okay.
I need to look
John
up who
Powell.
did this one. John
Oh,
Powell.
okay.
Yeah, I just think the test flight score alone is up there, like with what Hans Zimmer and John Williams did. It's on that level for me.
Also, this is directed by, really quickly, Powell is doing the Wicked score. But Roger Deakins did the cinematography for How to Train Your Dragon, which is awesome. But I completely just lost what I was going to say.
It
So I'm gonna think about that for a
co-directed
while.
Who directed?
Oh, yeah.
co-directed by Chris Sanders.
Chris
Chris
Sanders,
Sanders,
Yeah.
who directed The Wild Robot, which we're about to talk about. But Chris Sanders, I mean, the things that he's written. So he's written How to Train Your Dragon, Mulan. He also wrote and directed Lilo and Stitch, and then Wild Robot. He also did The Croods, but then he was also part of The Lion King, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast as well. So this guy is like
Solid lineup.
a pretty good all-star when it comes to.
And I think when you look at
genre.
like Mulan and How to Train Your Dragon and The Wild Robot, they're all like pretty serious in a way. Like How to Train Your Dragon, like it's like violent and there's some like stakes to it, and that same kind of thing with Mulan. Like I think Mulan is like a movie I really, really love. But also The Wild Robot, it feels like pretty heavy in a way in parts. So I like that I don't think studios or like directors, whatever, writers should be afraid to make kids' movies more serious or heavier or deal with more serious themes. I think it's good to introduce kids to that kind of stuff, like appropriately, like at a younger age, and help them understand like what good stories are and what that looks like, so that they can appreciate that more from a younger age.
I will say something that was nice about watching these movies, and something I really appreciate about this one is that these are all like 90 minutes, which is
Yeah.
cool if
Yeah.
you're trying to watch
Yeah.
the films to, do a
Yes.
podcast episode. But maybe more than any of these movies that we're talking about today, this one is so quickly paced, like really well. I paid attention. The two main storylines of this really are obviously Toothless and then the Nest. Like the Nest is the finale. They mention the Nest like 10 minutes into the movie. Like what that is. And everything, the Night Fury is mentioned like 2 minutes in. You already see the dynamic between Hiccup and his dad, and what he feels towards Astrid. You meet all of those guys who he eventually trains with in that little, area. Like all the main characters, all the plot points are mentioned right away, and then you basically know how the story's going to go. That's why I feel like it feels so quickly paced. Like nothing surprises you. Like everything makes sense. There's no downtime anywhere. Like you're like, okay, this is the next step in this character's journey and this character's journey. And, him, being on Toothless and finding the nest, all of that makes sense. And his dad comes back. It's just really well done. Like there's not a wasted second in the movie.
Yeah, I think the the good part about this movie is it's not something that would appeal to me normally. I'm the type I've said this a lot of times in videos where like I'm not a big person on like sci-fi or fantasy or stuff, like medieval stuff like that. But it appealed to me. Like I really enjoyed the movie in general, like as a whole. I think the pacing was all right. But my favorite thing about this movie is the way they kind of gave dark colors in animation, like a lot to play with. Like they really showed you like, okay, everything it's not always like rainbows and these bright reds and blues. Like we can really give you like these dark oranges, dark blacks, different shades of gray, and like make it look, I guess, appealing to a person's eyes or like a kid's eyes in general. And I think they worked really well with that.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I also think Vikings, I think in general, are a really interesting group to have as a part of any story. I think, and this story kind of does this, but Vikings are the group of people that are completely misrepresented in pretty much every single piece of media. It's horrible. Like I think they're incredibly misunderstood, and when you look at the actual history around like what they were, they're nowhere near as violent as how they're portrayed. Also, the Vikings didn't exist. Like all of those Scandinavian people had incredibly different cultures, with different languages, different religions, different ways of living. They were not dirty or unkempt. They all took care of themselves. They were traveling all over the world. They were establishing trade routes into the Middle East, into Asia. Like they were doing a lot, and they were not nomads. Like they were building settlements. They were settling down. A lot of what is told about Vikings is from like Christianity, really. Like priests that got attacked or something, and kind of said this is what all these people are like. But a lot of Vikings also ended up converting to Christianity too. Like they weren't all pagan. Like they didn't all use pagan religions too. I just think there's so much, and like even the stupid ass like horn helmet, like that wasn't a thing. Like that's from like Wagner, and it was never a thing that existed. It's just like there's so many misconceptions about them as people, and it's nice to see them not portrayed as just like bloodthirsty animals that are dirty and just like killing everything. Because that's not, as much as I love the Northmen, that's just not really it. But
I think you just found your next TikTok video.
yeah, the systematic misportrayal of the Vikings in media.
I mean, but it were like a little bit like at the
How to-
beginning
and
because
How
you
to
kind of
Train Your
got that
Dragon.
feeling. You kind of got that feeling where they're like, okay, this is what we do normally, and
Yeah.
I'm very glad that they didn't sit there and just show like them being like malicious to, well, they kind of did because they're like fighting a whole bunch of different
Well,
ones at the beginning.
It feels like a
Like a
war too,
war.
like with the dragons. Like it's
Yeah.
but you understand that. And I feel like it feels like any war where like they've both had a lot of losses and like there's a lot of like history there and a lot of loss, and it just that creates rage and just pushes the war forward, and that's a generational thing, and that's just how it goes. But I think you get a pretty good feel for that, and it makes the story that much more effective when you get someone trying to change something in a place where that kind of violence is clearly a big part of life. So it's a cool movie.
Yeah, I wish they drew you in like differently. Like I don't know how to feel about that intro. Like they're all fighting dragons, and then he's like, "This is me, I'm Hiccup." Like, like he's narrating. I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this right now.
I think it's a perfect
I like that they
introduction to the character.
I like that they capped it off the same way, too. Like at the end with him narrating again. And then also a small thing about this that is really good is the fact that he's like an inventor and a smith. Like that's another thing that's introduced right at the beginning of the story that becomes a huge part of the entire narrative. Even towards the very end, like with him I love that he loses his leg. I love that a lot. That's like my favorite decision in the movie. I think it's really cool. Shows the stakes and consequences of the world, but then also, obviously a tie-in with Toothless. But that's another thing that he's an inventor, and that's only what he can do because he's not a real killer Viking.
Yeah.
But I will say something we haven't mentioned it though, is that this is co-directed with Chris Sanders, and it was directed also by Dean DeBlois, I think is how you say his name, and he is the one that is going to be directing solely the live action movie that is coming out next year. So that'll be really interesting. And he also wrote this movie with Chris Sanders.
I feel a little better about it now.
The cast of the movie, so Gerard Butler is playing the father, who was co-directing the animated film. This is the live-action 2015 film. And the cast is Gerard Butler is returning as Stoic, the father of Hiccup. And then Nick Frost, who many people know from like The World's End, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, he's going to be playing Gobber. And then Mason Thames is from The Black Phone. That's what he's most known for, the horror movie with Ethan Hawke. Yep. He's going to be playing Hiccup. And then Nico Parker is going to be playing Astrid. And I only know her. She played Pedro Pascal's daughter, Joel's character in The Last of Us at the very beginning.
Okay.
So she's going to be Astrid. And there's a bunch of they have like all the sidekicks, I would say, of Hiccup, like everyone in that training area. The only one I know is Julian Dennison, who's the kid from Deadpool 2.
The heavyset kid?
So
the heavy kid stuff?
Yeah, and I know he's actually going to be in Y2K. Yeah, I know he's going to be in Y2K too. So
okay,
later this year.
Gotcha. Really quickly, I don't remember. Like I think Fabian said this, Connor, and I don't remember your response. I'm sorry, but do you, with how much you love sharks and as kind of like a misunderstood animal, like do you feel that tie-in with this movie in terms of like how the dragons are viewed?
Well, Fabian said that when you had actually stepped away, and I never thought of it that way, but maybe deep down that's why I do love this movie so much. And after he pointed it out, yeah, 100%. Because even Fabian said that, like, most people would see a shark and probably swim away, even though I've convinced you they won't hurt you. They might.
99.9%.
But like, yeah. I've actually gotten in trouble on 3 different occasions for seeing a shark in the water and swimming closer.
Connor, you're a madman. I know you preached. You're a madman. I wouldn't get in the water again.
What's the closest you've gotten to a shark?
I've pet a wild one.
Where? Fucking
wow.
Jamaica.
Was it like an activity?
But here's the difference. No, it wasn't. Here's the difference, Stone, is like I can also see a shark and I'll know like this is a shark you should not fuck with. Or I'm like, I'll take the risk. because like in Jamaica, we were snorkeling. This was like my senior year of high school, so 2017, and there was just like a little small, like 5 foot Caribbean white tip reef shark, and like they're a very docile shark. And I like was swimming closer, and the instructor like ripped me back up and was like yelling at me, and he claimed that it was a lemon shark. And then so we got in an argument, and then we both swam back down and get a better look, and I was right.
Like, bro, you don't know what you're
Took him to
talking about.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the other time was I was in the Marine Corps. So this was down North Carolina, and there was people like fishing off of a pier, and they started like yelling at everyone swimming. And there was a hammerhead, maybe like 7 feet or so, about 15 feet from me. I swam a little closer, and then they pulled up on
I
the
thought
boat and made
hammerheads
me
were
get in.
dangerous.
They can be.
I feel like it'd be so easy
what
to like
sharks are
push a
dangerous.
hammerhead away. Just be like, get that hammer out of here. You know what I mean? Just kind of like push the hammer.
Yeah, like they definitely can be, but like also hammerhead, like kind of like Dan said, but also like they aren't as much ambush hunters because of the position of their mouth. It's a lot harder to be an ambush hunter.
Yeah.
Stay above them, you're mostly fine.
Some good shark content for everyone that was curious.
All right, you're right, Connor. Hammerheads aren't aggressive towards humans. Man, I heard some fake
Thanks for
news
doubting me.
somewhere.
They're
I
definitely
wasn't
like scary
doubting you.
looking.
I
But
was reconfirming. So
They also have the best eyesight out of any shark.
I have terrible eyesight. Thanks.
are there
Aren't
eyes
their eyes like
on the?
far- yeah.
Are their eyes
far
spread out
apart?
wide, Connor?
Yeah, they're like on the sides, but then they can just turn their head and they have like 360 vision.
Damn, that's kind of
That's insane.
ridiculous.
Connor just has like already a shark picture on his laptop. He just like pops it up on the screen right now. he was hoping it would go this way. Yeah,
Outside
I'm
of
actually
outside of
happy.
that,
What's up?
I was gonna say with a little bit back on the topic of the movie. I don't know if you guys wanted to go there, but maybe more than the other movies that we were talking about. Now that I think about it, there necessarily isn't one joke in this movie that I can think of that's like super funny. Now there doesn't have to be jokes. Like this isn't Kung Fu Panda 4 or Kung Fu Panda or Shrek 2 or even The Road to El Dorado. I think this is a lot more serious than all those films. But there is some humor, but I can't think of like a certain line. Like the one thing, like it happens 3 times. Is like you just pointed at all of me. Ugh. Like that's the one thing I can think of. But I think they really dumbed down the humor in this. I can't really think of anything. I don't know if you guys can, but
No, I agree.
yeah, I mean, I think it's just it's a more serious movie. It's like it has more of an actual story to tell and a little more stakes and stuff. And I think that's like reflected in the entire movie. So I think it works.
Yeah, I think it's like that. And then also, like, a lot of it is kind of like maybe some physical humor too, with when you're really learning Toothless's like personality and the way he acts. It's a lot more like physical humor since he can't speak.
yeah, I thought of that too. Yeah.
Connor, what else or what is it about this movie that like really makes it stand out for you or like makes it your favorite?
The test flight scene really carries a lot of it. But I mean, I really like the, Hiccup and Toothless getting to know each other. I like, how against the village is against him on this. And honestly, the thing that holds me back from this being like just absolutely perfect 10 out of 10 is I think Astrid is annoying. I think she's very annoying throughout this entire movie. But I think all the voice acting is phenomenal. I honestly think this is a great trilogy. I almost picked the third one just for the ending.
That would have been good. I've only
you
watched
guys-
that once.
Have you guys seen the third one?
I don't
No.
think I have. If I have, it was once in a while ago. But
The final scene is great. I'll leave it at that,
Toothless
but-
gets a girlfriend. That's the big story arc there. Toothless gets a girlfriend.
Well, that's
Okay.
number 2, isn't it?
No, that's part 3.
Or is it number? That is part
That's
3?
what's
I thought.
No, part 2 is the.
Oh,
mom.
yeah. Part 2 is the big part with their
Wow.
mom. Yeah.
I will say,
And all of them are better than
I will
Shrek
say-
2.
Dang.
I will
Mic
say
drop.
that some of the humor doesn't work for me in this. I mean, I'm just like stuck on it because they do try to make jokes. One is like Hopper, like he's supposed to be like super funny. I don't think, and I think Craig Ferguson was a good choice for his voice acting, but he has like these random, I don't know, spiels that he goes on where he's like,
I'm sure. I think he says like, I think Hiccup's hunting for trolls. Trolls are real. They steal your socks, but not the left ones. What's with that? I'm like, that's not really funny. I don't know if it's because I'm aged up, but
You
and
made Connor leave.
I know. Yeah. Anybody who's not listening, Connor just left the podcast. And another thing too is like everyone in that like posse. I think all of their it's like a lot of slapstick humor, like the twins and the Jonah Hill, and we love T.J. Miller, of course. But all of them don't work. I don't like any of the side characters. I get why they're there, but they are like my one issue, kind of.
Yeah, I guess this was before everything came out about T.J. Miller.
This was before. I mean, this was 2010. Yeah, this was probably when he was still in like the heart of making Silicon Valley. I know it was like his show that he was known for.
And we didn't talk about it with Kung Fu Panda, but like Dustin Hoffman, a lot of shit came out about him too, and like he was really weird with like a 17-year-old on that show he was making, and like a lot of people, he got accused of a lot of different stuff.
He's in Megalopolis, ain't he?
Yeah. Yes.
Ironic.
So,
Ironic.
Oh god.
sucks that he's in a kids movie, but any more thoughts on this movie, guys?
Would you guys rate
It's
it?
good. It's solid.
4 stars for me.
Don't remember.
5 out of 5 for me.
3.5.
Wow. I did have it as a 5, but I think
Sorry, give
it's
me a
dropped to
second,
4.5.
Okay.
I would probably put it above Kung Fu Panda though.
4.75.
Okay, so what we
Now-
have talked about now, how would you rate the 4?
For me, it's Kung Fu
Don't do
Panda.
it. Don't do it to me.
For me, it's Kung Fu Panda, and then How to Train Your Dragon, and then Shrek 2, and then Road to El Dorado.
Mine's How to Train Your
I'll take
Dragon,
it above.
Kung Fu Panda, The Road to El Dorado, and Shrek 2.
You're such bullshit. That's such bullshit. That is incomprehensible bullshit.
And that's
I'm
not even
sorry.
me trying to do like clickbait or get a reaction out of Stone. Like that's just how I feel.
That is put this clip on. Yeah, you'll get rage bait out of a lot of people. Put this clip on freaking TikTok. Shrek 2 first. How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, and The Road to El Dorado. That's what I have. God, good lord.
At least we have
well-
some parity there, some different opinions.
I don't understand you all. We just talked about this last episode. I was like, oh, this podcast is really fun because it's usually me and, me versus Dan and Connor, but, that's what makes it interesting. And then the Shrek 2, I knew it too because Dan, like, I didn't say anything. Like, when I put it in the group chat, I was like, Shrek 2, let's do it, guys. I knew Connor had to watch it. I was expecting Dan to be like, hell yeah, let's do it, my guy. Silence. Crickets. And I was like, where'd he go? And then also, when Connor said, I'm going to do How to Train Your Dragon, silence. Crickets. I was like, damn. But then, I don't know. He's a Kung Fu Panda truther, which is, it's a good movie. But what did you have?
I mean, to be fair, I almost went with Over the Hedge.
That would have been
Over the
fun.
Hedge is awesome. I love that movie so much.
That's underrated.
Also one of the craziest voice castings ever.
Love it. Thomas Hayden Church as that exterminator guy is so good. It's
Dude,
so
Avril
good.
Lavigne is randomly in that movie.
But yeah, she's a possum. I watched that one on repeat.
It's a weird movie, but it's really fun. I like odd animated stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It's a good idea. It's like a strange idea that like really works, I think. Fabian, what did you have these 4 movies that we've talked about ranked?
So I got what was it? Okay, yeah, Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, El Dorado. Okay, yeah, El Dorado and Train Your Dragon at a tie, 3.5, and Shrek 2. And then Shrek 1. If it was Shrek 1, it'll be up here. And Shrek 1, I only gave it at a 3.5. So I'm not even praising Shrek 1 either, but Shrek 2 was bad, man. It was bad. They didn't have that love, man. I didn't feel that love.
I agree. The relationship is weak at best.
Yeah, it's just terrible. I mean, doing something for the person you love, changing who you are, to try to appease their parents, that's just terrible.
I
What
like
a
that. I like
terrible,
that. I like that.
realistic
Though.
relationship.
Like how the parents, like it's about like how parents will in-laws accepting like the the other pair or whatever, the partner. I like that about the movie, but the
Yeah,
storytelling.
we didn't
is
talk
just-
about that at all. That's like one of the strongest things about it, like that dynamic.
Yeah,
And I think like whether you look at it like, you know, like with race or like economically, like social class, like whatever, like that type of judgment, like definitely is valid. And like I've seen that stuff play out before, but
Yeah.
it's definitely uncomfortable. So yeah, that's
Sounds
good.
like a pretty good movie
2.5.
if you ask me.
I gave it a 3.5 out of
2.5.
5. That's a good score. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know.
Yeah, like 3 out of 5 is a good score. It's just one I don't have a lot of need or want to go back and rewatch.
So sad. Oh gosh. Anyways, I'm curious though, because I know what Dan rated The Wild Robot. If you guys want to get into that, the new release from DreamWorks. You also rated it a 5 out of 5, didn't you, Fabian?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone should go check out this movie in theaters right now. It's a new DreamWorks animated film, basically about a robot crashes on an island full of animals, and she learns how to live there and be a mother to a duckling. You know, very short synopsis. Go ahead and check it out for yourself. Form your own opinion. See what the story's about.
The baby goose.
I'm curious though. I have to ask straight up. What is that? Gosling? Is
You
that
said duckling.
Ryan Gosling?
Ryan Gosling.
I said duck. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Let's just call it Ryan Gosling.
How
That's
dare
what we're
you?
gonna call
All the
it now.
goose enthusiasts in the chat will be very upset.
We'll have more Goose enthusiasts than Shrek 2 enthusiasts.
Yes.
But I was gonna say, what you guys both have this rated as a 5 out of 5. There's no way you have this above Kung Fu Panda, right, Dan?
I don't want to choose. This movie looks so much better than everything else we're talking. Like, the movie looks ridiculous. Like, a lot of the animation, and honestly, all of the movies, that there are some weak points. I think Kung Fu Panda looks pretty good, but like, this movie just looks insane. Like, it looks like, you know, a painting half the time, and everything is so detailed and beautiful. And like, you talked about that a good bit, Stone, but. And I think at the same time, it's not just that. Like, thematically, this movie is trying to tackle a lot of different things at once. And I think it does a good job at doing that and gives enough time to each element of the story. I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be quite as good as it was. And I really hope this makes a lot of money. I think the word of mouth is really strong. And I think expectations were generally high, but it surpassed what I was anticipating.
Yeah, it's gonna make more than Transformers 1, which is sad. I know that we, all three of us like that movie, which I think is really interesting. I mean, that was our last episode, is the fact that Transformers really is like an older demographic, like brand from the 80s. And maybe people who are in their 30s or 40s, who are connected to that, don't necessarily want to watch an animated movie. That's something I've really never thought about. That's been brought up a whole lot when it comes to that movie. But anyways, Fabian, you are an animator, correct?
On my spare time, yeah.
Okay. All right. So what did you, is the animation the thing that stood out the most to you in this?
Surprisingly, no. It's beautiful. The animation is perfect. But that music score, this is the first time I ever looked up an animation soundtrack and played it in my car. That's how good this music score was to me. It was insane. And like being able to feel like those like that tension, those like the different emotions, the different scenarios, like being able to feel that with the music, bro, like that's another type of feeling that I hope like everyone gets to like truly feel. I didn't cry, so maybe I'm soulless. But it I don't know, man. I think animation's going like in such a great direction. Like this, insane.
That what you were saying about the score is how I unironically listened to Test Flight from How to Train Your Dragon, like on repeat.
Yeah. I also just think like the voice acting here it's really
People are just
good.
listening. Connor was gone, and then he just came in to say that one thing and then left.
Lupita Nyong'o, like, and Pedro Pascal, if you didn't know they were in it, you would watch the whole movie and not know it was them, which
Yeah.
I think is ideal with voice acting, where I don't want to hear Seth Rogen, like in Kung Fu Panda. Like, I don't want to hear Seth Rogen and be like,
Exactly.
it's Seth Rogen. I want
It's
to
like,
hear a character. That's how I
I
feel.
can confirm that, Dan, because me and my wife just got done watching season 4 of Game of Thrones, and we've watched The Last of Us. And after it got done, I was like, "Did you know that was Pedro Pascal?" She's like, "I had no idea. No idea that was him."
Yeah, which is great. And that character of Fink, I think, is one of the best parts of the movie. It's so interesting because they just making him a fox, right? Like a fox is an animal that kills everything, that will go into nests and take babies. It takes eggs. It's really one of the most vicious animals in kind of nature. So I think using that character and using it, like, there's a reason that the fox is a symbol of, it's kind of an untrustworthy, slimy thing. Like that's its function. And to make that character something that all the other animals like don't trust, and to make it an animal that's fundamentally an enemy of Brightbill and something that would be like a predator to him, and then still being able to bring them together. Like, it's a simple thing, but it really works. And I think the development of Fink as a character, and kind of peeling back that he's just really lonely and maybe has just been kind of hurt and abused a lot by the world, or been through a lot of stuff, so he has like a lot of walls up and doesn't think that anything would really love him. It's his dynamic with Roz is just as important as Brightbill's, and the movie shows you that, but it takes a little bit of a backseat, but you still care about it just as much. I think it's very interesting what they did there.
Yeah, I agree. I forgot. I was trying to pick out who the voices were in this for the cast, and I love that it is Pedro Pascal, but I totally forgot that Mark Hamill was in this too,
Yeah.
and it doesn't sound like. I mean, Mark Hamill. It just doesn't sound like him at all. I mean, he's the voice actor in this cast, and he was great. And also Stephanie Shu. I'm glad that she's getting work off of Everything Everywhere All at Once, of course.
And
But yeah, I
Catherine,
agree. Maybe yeah, I was thinking about Catherine O'Hara is like, she's in The Last of Us season 2, and then she's in Beetlejuice.
yes,
And what else was she in? She was in Argyle. I was like, damn, like she's
Making
getting cast
money
in a
this
whole lot
year.
of shit. She's working.
making money. Yeah,
Good.
she's. I mean, which is great. It's really well
She's so
deserved.
fun.
You already know I liked Argyle more than most people. I thought she was good in that, and she's good in this too. And she gets a decent amount to do in this. She plays the possum Pinktail.
I will say, it's talking about that character. There's one joke that, and you talked about this in your review, and I feel like a lot of people are going to talk about this in their reviews. But there's a joke where, I guess spoilers, we're spoiling the movie a little bit, not really the finale or anything like that. But there's a joke where she thinks one of her kids dies, and she's like, "Oh, thank goodness! Like, I have one less kid to watch," basically. And that's the thing throughout this entire movie, is that death is probably like the number one joke. Like, there's so many jokes about that. And I found an issue with that towards the end of the movie. What happens with the animals, I will say. I don't want to spoil it, but their relationship at the very end. I just couldn't stop thinking about death and killing. So when the story concluded like it is, obviously you can say, oh, that's the reason why it's in the movie, right? That's why they're joking about it so much, because you're supposed to see how much they've changed or something like that. I didn't see it that way. That's the only thing I could think about, because it was emphasized so much in the movie. So I think that took away from whatever happened to them being, I guess maybe this is spoiling, but being a family. I didn't think maybe you had to make that many death jokes. I mean, it is nature. It's humorous. That's how it works. But that just took away from some of the feeling that I could have had towards the end.
I think that's like that to me was something that I really enjoyed about it, because that was basically the whole point with the Wild. Like, that's their life basically. It's like their lives can basically change like that. People go hunting for them every other day, every day basically. And you walk outside, like you can't even consider an ant or a bug like the wild technically, but you walk outside and casually walking, you step on an ant, boom, their lives are done. So it's just like that's just the life of the wild or animals, where it's like death is, it's kind of something it's something you kind of have to emphasize with them, I guess, to get the story across. But I see why you feel that way as well.
I think it's interesting also to make death a little more trivial and like just a little bit more part of kind of the circle of life. And I think death in media in general is it's obviously a fear that people have, and it's often kind of vilified or made like to be a terrifying thing. I think showing it as something that's a little bit more free flowing and not as terrifying and just part of the cycle is interesting, especially in a movie for kids. I I like that. I do get what you're saying in terms of like you're wondering about how their dynamics will change moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that even a child, if they would watch this movie, I feel like that's all they would be able to think about too. Like it's Zootopia. Like think about Zootopia. It's very similar. It's like a predator living with prey. Imagine if they just constantly joked about that, like death in that movie, and then the end result. I mean, they do. It's part of the plot, but it's not necessarily. There's a reason why it's happening. I did not think that I would remember the plot of Zootopia, but I am at this moment. Um, but yeah, it's just it's different. It's just nature, and that's what happens in nature. So they aren't killing each other because they necessarily aren't getting along. They're killing each other because it's the circle of life. So it's gonna continue. That's all I can think about.
I just think that's such a small part of the story, and just like
Well, that's the
I don't
thing. I think it's a big part. That's like the main, the number one joke is all of that.
I mean,
So
it will continue.
humor's a big part of
I
the
don't.
movie.
I think that's just like it is what it is.
Yeah,
Like
it will continue.
Yeah.
Well, that makes the ending a lot less feel good. That's my point. It is what it is.
I don't
It's
think
gonna
it
happen.
does. I think that's the point of the movie. Like I don't think it makes it any less feel good because it just is. That is how it is, and
So what
it's not going
happens?
to.
I mean, if you want to spoil the end, like, what do you think happens at the end of the movie? Like, is like
I
that's
mean,
just
they've
the
got to
circle. Like, it
like,
turns into the Lion King, or like it's just the circle of life, and everyone's peace and harmony. Some people die. That's just how it goes.
I mean, it's just more about like unity towards for the animals. I don't think it's more about like how we would feel, how like humans would feel, or the other robots even. I just think it's mainly about how the animals will feel at the end. Like at the end, you guys got to take care of each other, no matter if you're a possum or if you're a big grizzly bear or if you're this or that. Like I think they got to look out for each other.
Yeah, and I think part of them taking care of each other is some of them are going to die. Like that's part of how it goes. I think I hear what you're saying, Stone, but I think you're trying to
Yeah.
apply like human morality onto an ecosystem, which like doesn't work. But I think it's tough because they are characters in a movie, but it's just a different way of thinking about it, and I think the movie tries to come to terms with that or like deal with that by addressing it through like jokes and stuff. But I don't know. I just think our morality doesn't really apply when thinking about it, so it makes it it's like kind of apples and oranges in a way. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
He's like, I'm gone. No, yeah, but I totally understand that though. Like, it can. What I like the most is that they don't focus on the humans, because like they do give you like a glimpse of it, like when they're in like that lab with the when they when they have like the beacon calling out to the
Yep.
place where they handle all the robots and stuff. Yeah, so they don't really show you like their faces. They just show you the back of them and how they're working, and then they just cut away back to Roz and all that stuff.
Yeah, I like how I feel like the movie almost makes you feel like I mean, the reality of the situation is that like we are the invasive species. Like we are something that is coming into their system. Like we get comfortable with Roz, and even though Roz is something that we created, and all the animals, and like we are like the monsters, and it's very similar in a way to like the Iron Giant or something like that, where we're the antagonist and we're coming into that system and throwing things off. So I like how that feels, and I feel like it. You really feel the stakes at the end. I think I like how the story kind of elevates and escalates, and Roz becomes like a genuine hero, but you also see her like getting weaker and weaker, and she's losing like whatever fluid or whatever that is, and she has to make changes to herself, but she's so like scarred and beaten down, but she doesn't stop. And I think that's just like, to any mom out there, like they understand that, and that is and dad, but that's part of being a parent. And she's just giving, and there's no thought of like, maybe I should slow down. But you see her at the end, like so exhausted, and finally gets to rest. It's simple stuff, but like it works for me. And I like how it kind of escalates in terms of how much she has to give.
Yeah, I also like the well, I can't really say the spoiler, but I like how it ends. Because if they would have done something differently than the decision that she makes, I feel like you kind of take away a lot from how she handles herself throughout the movie. Just like how you said, like how all the stakes, her losing the fluid and her energy, but she's still giving. If they would have changed that ending, that would have completely ruined the movie.
Yeah.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I have another gripe. I won't spoil it, but I just don't like the villain in the end. I feel like they kind of came out of nowhere. If you think about any of the movies that we're talking about, I mean the main antagonist, which you can say it's the main antagonist is nature and them living with each other. You can be really philosophical about it, but it's kind of not at the end. There is actually a villain and antagonist who's trying to cause mayhem. And all the movies that we're talking about today, I feel like all of them were introduced really well at the beginning or middle of the story. And this one was kind of just introduced at the very end. And you're like, oh shit, who is this person? And they're a menace. And that's another thing about this movie too that really bugged me. I like this movie. I have a 4.5 out of 5, just so you all know. But I think you talked about it too, Fabian, is the fact that I think you think of it as a positive, and I think as a negative, is this movie kind of feels like a roller coaster. Like it's like the score's booming, and there's like these scenes, no dialogue. You're like, whoa, and then it just comes down. It's like really quiet, and all of a sudden it's another one of those scenes like, whoa, score, and then it comes down again, and then it's the finale. And I'm like, geez, dude, kind of like thing. And I mean, I guess Test Flight and How to Train Your Dragon is kind of like that too, but especially when talking about the antagonist towards the end, that's another one of those highs where it's like came out of nowhere. Here we go again. And I just wish it was more coherent in the story. I wish it is slightly mentioned in the beginning, but I wish it was incorporated better. I think it was kind of shoehorned in at the end. Is what it felt
think
like.
the antagonist is humanity, though. Like I think that the antagonist is like a feature of humanity, and also kind of like just shows a reflection of what Roz could or should be like at her worst.
To be honest, I mean, I did a lot of research on the book. I think the antagonist, and this is not a spoiler because this is not how it is, I feel like it should have been, in a way, global warming. Because that's why this island... Yeah, because that's why this island is the way it is what happened is the waters have risen across the world, and now all these animals have to live on an island together because they have nowhere else to go. And I think that would have been incorporated. Like nature itself is the villain, and they have to learn how to survive somehow together. I would have liked that a lot better. Now you are dealing with a robot in that it's a little bit different, but I think that would have been even greater and more impactful of a story. Kind of like a villain that you necessarily can't stop. You just have to learn how to be in a way to adapt to it.
But if global warming is the symptom, humanity is still the villain. Nature is not the villain. Nature is a consistent entity in the world that reacts to the actions of humanity. You know what I mean? So I still feel, but I hear what you're saying, and if that's part of the book, I wish they would have made that more part of the story.
Yeah,
but I
that's
do feel like
they don't really dive in on like what this where she crash landed. Like, I guess this is Earth, and like I think there's that scene where the ducks are flying, and you see the San Francisco
the Bay
bridge.
Bridge.
Yeah.
You say underwater.
Yeah, and I think what was I gonna say? I think I kind of liked the vagueness of it. I think it made it feel a little more like I don't know the word, like a little more mystical, and just I thought that was interesting. But I think the climax of this is kind of indicative of humanity's impact on these ecosystems and global warming, all that kind of wrapped up into one, like the chain reaction of events that leads to everything that happens. I think it's because of us, and it's I think that part of the movie dealt with that well, and that's why I'm glad it kind of went in that route. Um, and I think the kind of nature versus humanity and technology aspect was properly addressed as like a secondary theme here.
Yeah.
Could they have made it more of a focus? Probably, but I think the movie was trying to do so much else with like parenting and figuring out purpose. And like I described it as you're seeing Roz like grow a soul, like develop a soul and break past her programming and turn into something more like animalistic or human, but just I feel like that was paced out really well in terms of her development, and that's what's at the heart of the story. I think Lupita has a big part of that in terms of her performance.
Yeah, she was awesome. But I think as far as um the antagonist, like you were saying, Stone, like I get you as well, like when you say that, but I also think they handled the foreshadowing well, because you know throughout the movie like how she keeps on repeating, I have a task. I have a task. So it's like, you know, someone did this to her. You know, someone shipped her off somewhere or whatever happened to her. But it's like eventually these people are gonna find her. Eventually someone's gonna have to handle this, or some type of human or other robots. Something's gonna happen. So I just think the way they foreshadowed the events was done very well in
I
terms
think
of that.
that it makes me really excited for this if we hopefully get a sequel to this, because there is two more books that the author, I believe his name is Peter Brown, that he wrote, and the second one is called The Wild Robot Escapes. So I think that'll dive more into the human elements and maybe what happened to the planet, because we're not necessarily on the island with the animals.
Yeah, and I'm all for more of these. Like if they keep up the quality and like you can get into different stuff in each of these, that could be great. Also, this is just the kid that played Baby Bright Bill is 7 years old. His name's Boone Storm. He's just a cute kid. I thought that was a Baby Bright Bill
Boom
was awesome.
Storm.
So that's crazy. There's like a 7-year-old doing voice acting. Like
I will
But he was
say,
good.
you know that I'm in a box office, so this is doing, I mean, better than Transformers 1. I mean, Transformers 1 did rough. I mean, the good thing unfortunately not for Transformers 1, but for the Wild Robot, is that there isn't another animated film coming out that I could think of. So that gives it a pretty open slate, but then it is original, even though it's based off a book rather than Transformers. Um, but I think it's going to do pretty solid numbers. So hopefully that'll translate. I think any studio is always looking for an IP that they can, put more and more sequels on. So hopefully this will be one. Because, I mean, there is a story. I mean, I think that's why it's also pretty solid, is because it's already a story that's been told. So it's pretty good just to go off the source material. But
Yeah, shout out to the writer, like, for adding, because if you read the book, because like I actually went and like read the book after the movie, and it's like he doesn't do like, like usually you read a book is like 10, 15 pages, then another chapter. He goes chapter by chapter, and each chapter is like based on a certain thing, like some type of wild or event or whatever. And um and I just like the I don't know how to say, like, the
it's
structure
symmetry.
of it.
Yeah, he purposely did that. In my research I did about him, is like he thought symmetry and repetition was very similar to what a robot in nature would do. So he structured the book. He made every single paragraph, even in each chapter, look very similar.
Yeah.
And the where he placed like the illustrations and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the writer for the movie, like obviously you got to add like a whole bunch of, extra details and extra scenes. And there was a character who wasn't even in the book. I don't remember exactly who it was. There was one character that wasn't even in that book. And I don't know. I just think the way they handled this was fantastic. Like, man, it makes me happy to see animation get so much praise, man.
Yeah, it's just really cool because we just talked about the author, just the fact that a robot going against protocol and animals trying to go against their instinct is just a genius idea. And just thinking about, let's do this to close out this conversation. Where does this rank in animated robot movies? Wall-E, The Iron Giant, The Wild Robot. Ooh, come on, you got to give me this. You didn't tell me what was better, this or Kung Fu Panda, but you got to give me your robot movie rankings.
Wally's still Lucifer.
So what, Connor?
Lucifer. I'll die on that hill.
Wall-E is Lucifer?
Yeah, Wally's Lucifer.
Yeah.
That's dark.
Do you want me to explain my thoughts while you guys put together your order?
It's only 3 movies. I got my order. Not to be rude. I would say The Wild Robot, Wall-E, and The Iron Giant. I didn't grow up on The Iron Giant, so I don't have as much. I think it's really good. I have it a 4 to 5, if I remember correctly. I just don't have as much nostalgia for it as other people do.
I think The Iron Giant, The Wild Robot, and then Wall-E, maybe. But I have to rewatch both of those movies. I don't know, but
I can't take the overweight people in Wall-E. I think they're too goofy and they throw off that movie completely. I get it, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
yeah, I have Wall-E in third.
Yeah, I'd go Wild Robot and Wall-E, but Iron Giant I gotta leave on the side. I would have to rewatch. I don't want to just throw it in there.
I respect that. So why is Wall-E Lucifer?
All right, hear me out on this one.
Good.
Because it's actually not like me like making a joke, kind of is, but it is kind of like a biblical tale. Because Wall-E lives on this like very desolate planet, just looking for any kind of sign of life. He finally finds like the life, which is the plant, and gives it to Eve. And then she takes it up to this like perfect society where people don't really have to do much, which is basically bringing the apple to the Garden of Eden.
Is that it?
That's pretty much it. I mean, I think there's more you can dive into, but it's kind of like a biblical tale.
I thought that was going to go. Perfect society of a bunch of I'm putting in they're all obese is like the first thing I think of. Is that?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Loosely a perfect society.
But
it's
if they're
just
all
a fun
happy
little
and
tidbit.
content, then it is perfect. No?
Yeah. All right. Well, a little snippet from Connor. I like that. Was that your own theory you came up with, or you've seen that?
I've heard it somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. I forget where, but I think it was a TikTok like 2-3 years ago. And then I thought about it. I was like, huh, yeah.
Say, Fabian, even though you're like, you watch a lot of animation, and that's my favorite, not genre, that's my favorite art form. I love it. I think you can do so much with it. But you watch a shit ton of movies. Like, you post a lot of videos, talk about a lot of stuff, a bunch of new releases, and you watch TV shows. I don't know how you have all the time to do that, but we don't have time to get into that. But I was gonna say, what is a movie that you've watched recently that you think maybe people haven't watched that you would recommend?
Yeah, man. I texted Dan about this. Wendell and Wild, a movie that no one talks about. If you look up like reviews or I think Letterboxd or something, like it's very like I think it doesn't have a lot of reviews. I'm not 100%, but literally no one speaks about this movie, and it's literally Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key as themselves, but they're like these they're like devil minions.
It's
So
stop
I
motion,
know
right?
yeah, it's like a mix of stop motion and like 3D animation. And it's from Henry Selick, so the same one that did Nightmare Before Christmas. So it's like you got Henry Selick, you've got Jordan Peele, Keegan-Michael Key. It's like, where's the love for this movie?
And it's a Netflix movie, right?
Yeah, it's been sitting on Netflix for the
Just chilling
longest.
there.
Yes, and nobody talks about it. And they're literally like when I say they're literally themselves, when you watch the movie, you will see exactly what I mean.
Man, just thinking about you saying they're literally themselves maybe makes me think of Keegan Michael Key when he just came out and said that, man, we just don't talk that much anymore. Man, that made me sad.
Oh yeah,
that's just a
they just went
bummer.
their ways, man.
That's just how life goes.
Yeah, long distance friendships.
Again, Keegan Michael Key. Everyone go check out Bumblebee or not Bumblebee. Shit, Transformers One. I keep on trying to tell people to go watch that movie. It's so funny. A little off topic of what you were just talking about, but I posted a video just talking about box office not doing that well for Transformers One, and people just said, "Dude, it's not a bad movie," and I was like, Derek didn't say it was a bad movie. I said the box office. I said the box office is not doing that well, and I said if you like watch till the end, you know, I say go ahead and check out the movie because we need to support it or whatever. But I love that you gave an animated pick. I would say for this episode.
Yeah, people on TikTok, they don't watch your videos. Like they'll just go in there like,
You
what are
watch
you talking
videos like
about?
this, bro.
I swear, like you'll sit there and say something completely good about the movie. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, did you see at
What
the
are you
end how
talking
I said
about?
all these positives? Like, what do you what do you mean?
I mean, people think that I actually believe Michael Bay put thousands of our troops into debt. So
Oh yeah.
Good content, my guy.
That was a good
I'll say
video.
I can go next for my recommendation. I'm glad I'm going to recommend this because it's a movie that I rated very high and one that's been on my list for a while. Quite a bit of people have watched it, but it's Francis Ha. So this is
Plus,
directed
you were
by
going to say Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
Oh my god.
No. Francis Ha, directed by Noah Baumbach, starring Greta Gerwig, his now wife Greta Gerwig. This was made back in 2012. It's in black and white, and it's just basically about her character, whose name is Frances, and she's just living her life in New York. She wants to be a dancer, and she moves to New York, and things just don't go her way. And it just shows you how life in a big city like that. I think you can also compare this to maybe living in LA, chasing your dreams, just how much that can change, how much your friends can change based on the circumstances of your life, how you can bounce from one place to another place, how it just doesn't work out sometimes, or how your career path or your dreams might change. It's a really quick watch. I think it's 86 minutes. So really, really quick watch. It's the very first movie that I ever watched that I bought on the Criterion collection. So that's kind of cool. It's right over here, but really solid movie. So I don't know if you can watch it anywhere right now, to be honest. I should have looked that up before I recommended it, but pretty solid. And it's typing away. That's my guy.
Like research.
It is on. It's on Netflix,
Shit.
and it's on Mubi and the Criterion Channel, or you can rent it. But it's on Netflix.
There you go. Yeah, Francis Ha. I think it's also got a really great score to it too, but really solid movie.
oh yeah.
Nice.
I touched on mine a little bit last week, just because I recommended it to Stone as he's trying to get more into animation. So I'll talk more deeply on Silent Voice,
Yeah. It's a good one.
Japanese animation style movie that is like just super important. Like one, it deals with like physical disabilities. Like what's arguably the co-lead is she is deaf and has cochlear ear implants, which is basically what the story starts about. And then it also deals with a lot of mental health and depression and dealing with the issues of your past. I don't want to give too much of the movie away, but it sounds like Fabian has seen it and he can say
Yeah, that's a good
with
one.
me that it's a phenomenal movie.
What's it called, Connor?
A Silent Voice.
Yeah.
I think it's actually called like A Silent Voice,
4.5.
the movie. I have it at a 5 out of 5.
Let me make sure.
It's available to rent everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Anxious Hobbit. She's when we were like in the what was that? The
Movie
movie
club?
club. Yeah, when like we're doing a lot of that. She recommended me that one.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, 4.5. Yeah.
Cool. I watched Decision to Leave from Park Chan-wook. If you like Anatomy of a Fall, it's kind of like that on steroids. He
Nice.
made it in 2022. It was his last movie. He has something new coming out, but last movie so far. I watched it on the Mubi like app, which is really, really nice. I think it's like $15 a month, but they have so much shit on there, and it's like stuff that you can't really find a lot of other places, and really interesting choices in terms of the movies they have. So I really like the app a lot. But I watched it and I really liked it. It's basically there's a murder, or there's a death of this guy falls pretty much off a mountain, and a detective comes to investigate. The guy had kind of a younger wife, and it's basically about the investigation, what happened to this guy, what his wife is about, and the dynamic that kind of develops between the detective and the wife, and the detective and his partner. The detective is married. It's a very like layered movie. You have to be dialed in to watch it, but it's really
Like Anatomy,
interesting.
right?
Yeah, you're not watching this on your phone or like it's. But I feel like it's even more complex than Anatomy of a Fall. There's a lot going on, and a lot of layers to it, and the story kind of develops past that investigation. So it's really cool if you have the I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes if you have the time and you can really pay attention. I think you'll like it a lot. So you can also rent it on like Prime Video or Apple TV.
Hey, shout out to Mubi for having The Substance have a big release. That'd be cool to see them pick up some more films, just to have another distributor out there.
Yeah,
Because The Substance is really solid. Like, they promoted the hell out
Good
of
movie.
it for them.
Yeah, as it should.
But Fabian, appreciate you being on, my guy. Appreciate
Yeah.
the talks, the recommendations, and the slander towards Shrek 2. I'll take that to heart. I work night shift tonight, and I can't wait to go here in a second, lay down.
I'm never being invited again.
No, I'm telling you, I think we're gonna get a new host. That's what's gonna happen. A new co-host. But you're an awesome creator. If people don't follow Fabian, please tell them where to find you, my guy.
Yeah, you could find me on TikTok, Instagram, a little bit of YouTube. Trying to restart that whole thing. Same username, Cinespider.
Nice. Well,
And
guys,
Letterbox.
Oh, there you go.
Terrible reviews on Letterbox.
I mean, I'm so lazy sometimes with Letterbox. Dan's lucky. I don't know. You don't even write reviews on Letterbox, right, Dan? Okay. Typing all that out, I'm like, I really feel passionate about this movie, and I get like 2 paragraphs in, and I want to write like 10. I'm like, I'll just rate it 3, 4, 5.
I do like one-line reviews.
Yeah, I get burnt out.
Like Shrek 2, I put it's fun. I understand the appeal. Not for me.
It's fuck up. Good lord. Anyways, congratulations, by the way, to Ricardo again for winning our giveaway. I'm so excited to finally clear my desk of this stuff and to send it to you. And then next week is really, yet again, we're going to have Jeremiah battle on. Because what we're going to do, what we're going to do, which is going to be a super interesting episode, we're going to be talking about Joker Folie à Deux and Joker 2019, but then we're going to talk about inspirations, so the movies that inspired those. So Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, and then Inspired.
Yeah.
And then also Singing in the Rain.
No Joker hate. No Joker hate.
Really interesting. I'm going to watch that tomorrow. Did you guys get the early screening tickets for that? They have ones for tomorrow for like early fan access.
My wife's birthday week, so
I'm seeing that this week. I don't remember when it is, but yes.
I'll let you know how it is. Because, I mean, Raiders of the Lost Podcast, friends of ours, they gave it a 5 out of 5. And they interviewed Todd Phillips, so pretty sick. Good for them. But
as much as I like Raiders, go check out their like reviews. Like they also like they don't look at movies really critically a lot, and they'll just be like, "We love movies," and like there's some that like they just give like 4.5s and 5s too if you go and look at their Letterboxd, which there's nothing wrong with. But
yeah, for sure. But yeah, until that episode, we're excited. Thanks again, Fabian, for being on with us. We will definitely have you on again, no doubt about that. But yeah, until Joker Folie à Deux, everybody, please go outside this week, touch some grass. Thank you for joining us. Sit on a park bench, and we'll see you next week. Peace.